Thanks so much for joining us here at MeWe Fairs. This is our Cosmic Conversations event. We do this about once a month, and we make this available to all of us in the community, whoever wants to come to chat about all kinds of things woo-woo, all kinds of things cosmic. We often have guests, and we're excited to be joined by Matt Young today. So we're going to go around and introduce ourselves and let you know who we are and what we do in general. And then this is an open conversation for all of us together. So this is a chance for you to ask what you want, share whatever experiences you've had, answer questions. If you want personal support, there's a way to do that. And so we're here to explore all kinds of stuff, and it'll be influenced by Matt being here today. So we get to have fun and find out what's going to happen. Um, the people here all know each other really well. Kai, Crystal, and Matt know each other really, really well. So, and I know they have a lot of fun together. So I'm particularly curious to see what's going to happen. All right. Well, let's see. We've got some new people in the audience, some people that know us really well, and then all the
Don't
people that will
tempt
watch us
fate
at some
like
point.
that.
What?
I said, don't tempt fate like that.
Oh, I'm a little bit of a fate tempter, that Scorpio sun. All righty. Well, let's see. So who on the spotlight wants to introduce themselves first?
I think Matt wants to go because he's just been dying to get here. So
Hi, Marcia. Great. All right, Matt.
I'll try to be serious. I dislike titles. Um, you could call me every title. I think most of us are referencing Crystal and Kai. There's a lot of things we can do. And I'll just say probably the most unique thing about me is the supernatural seems to follow me. So I've been having experiences since I was a little kid. The things that I'm probably known for now is readings, healing, and exorcisms. So the exorcism kind of thing might be interesting to get into tonight. Um, but yeah, 12 years of doing this publicly, internationally, 30 countries, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, lots of miracles and fun stuff, thousands of stories. So there you go.
Maybe could you just give a little bit of the flavor of the healings that you do because they're different than what a lot of people do?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a range from like pain disappearing to blind eyes opening and then everything in between. Um, Autoimmune diseases, things that like fibromyalgia. It's probably easier to tell you the things that I haven't seen healed.
And I would say
Um,
this is healed in minutes often. Like you
yeah,
shift these things in minutes. So
yeah. So I would say sometimes 5 minutes to 15. And then there's cases where we worked on people for 30 minutes. And in some cases, it wasn't just me, it was kids I was working with that I trained how to do this stuff where I just seen like what you would call crazy miracles. Um, yeah. So lots and lots of story. Disembodied spirits leaving people, whether you want to call it demons, entities, parasites, whatever language you want to use. I think oftentimes what I've seen is people don't realize they have an attachment, and when that attachment leaves, that's one of the reasons why people have extreme like results really quickly.
great. Great. Is there anything else you think Matt ought to share in his introduction, Kai and Crystal?
everybody gets healed, even though it might not have. If you're in the same room and you're not specifically being worked on, you still are in that energy. So that energy is available to you, and it will saturate your energetic fields if you want it to. And some people have not been worked on and then turned around later on and said, you didn't work on me, but this happened from me being in one of your events. So um, it's one of the laws and principles of Hermetic doctrine that energy will shift and it has to follow those principles. And so it does happen. It might not be what you think it's going to be, but it does happen.
So this is a warning that you might get impacted here tonight. So if you don't want that, set up a shield so it doesn't happen.
I know you have to set up a pretty good one because that stuff goes where it wants to go.
All right, great. Who wants to introduce themselves next?
Sure. Hi, Ian. I'm Crystal Novak, psychic reader, author, mentor. I lead a meditation study group once a week. And I've been doing this level of work for 45 years. I was fortunate enough to end up in a group that was a channeled meditation study group, and we were taught by Ascended Master Katumi, taught us all kinds of stuff. So I have a wide range of background of experience and utilizing those tools from those teachings, as well as my own personal experience in just working from a place of knowingness and getting information. So again, I like being here for Cosmic Conversation because I like learning stuff. And so if there's some opportunity for me to hear about something new, or to go on something that I thought it was X and like, oh, it could be Y. Okay. So I like that. Nothing's written in stone, so to speak. So that's part of the reason why I enjoy being part of this. Thank you.
Great. I was just say too, and your weekly study group started because you have a new thing that's out in the world. Do you want to say anything about that too?
It's hit the 6-month mark and gone past that. And we were all kind of in shock when we thought about it. And so from that place, people were sharing like, well, what have you noticed in the last 6 months? And people were sharing changes that they've noticed in themselves and in their relationships and just in their own personal life as well. So
Let's say your study group and the book that you've had out now for the over 6 months. Yeah.
one more time.
Your study group and the book that you've had out for over 6 months.
Yes, yeah. Well, the study group kicked off at the same time as my book was published. So for those of you who are curious, my book is called Remembering Who You Are. Laureli has linked it here in the chat. It's about us as spirit having a human experience and how we are influenced by being in this encounter suit, this human vessel, and how to understand how that impacts us as spirit, and then how to recognize the difference between human reactionary response versus a spiritual intuitive response, and how to get clearer and become more aligned with your spiritual self while still maintaining a vessel here. So it's on Amazon. If you go there and look it up, they have the free sample you can read. I think it's the first 5 chapters. That's a great opportunity to do like a Costco sample and see if it works for you or not. And if it does, then there's your book. So yeah, thank you, Laureli.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks, Crystal. Thanks for getting it out in the world. And Kai.
And so, hey everybody, I'm Kai. I'm a Hawaiian Kahuna, which is the Hawaiian version of a shaman. I am a mentor, author, speaker. My specialty is removing negative energy from people, places, and things. So this is where Matt and I overlap because I deal with entities and demons, whatever you want to call them, as well. And my whole thing about coming to Cosmic Conversations is being able to talk about anything in the spectrum of metaphysics. Because I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about certain topics, or they're just like, that's not part of my reality. And the fact is that just because it's not there or you won't acknowledge it, well, just the fact that you won't acknowledge it doesn't mean it's not there. So I want to have conversations where people are at least willing to address things, because I look at it like the more that you don't talk about something, that's the thing that will blindside you. So I think these conversations are really important to have. We don't have to necessarily talk about anything dark per se, but we want to make sure that we cover the gamut of things so that people have a good understanding of what energy is, what it can do, what it's capable of, and more importantly, what you can do about it, so that you don't feel like you're helpless and you have no options. Because you always have options. You just may not know what they are.
Great. Is there anything else you want to say about any of the courses you have or the books that you have or any of the other things so people get to learn that you've been doing this since you were itty bitty? Anything like that you want to say?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been doing this, forever, and in some form or fashion. So basically, the whole concept of weird is like, welcome to my life. There's not a whole lot that surprises me at this point in terms of conversation. Either I've done it, seen it, or know somebody who does. So there's not a lot that I can't say something about in terms of metaphysics. But at the same time, I always recognize the fact that I don't know everything. And I like that because that means I'm still learning and I'm still growing and I'm still expanding. And that allows my perception to continue to grow. The thing that I'm like going gangbusters on right now is our retreat that's coming up for next year. It's called the Alchemy of Becoming, and I just put up a page for it so that people can sign up for it if they want to get notified when the registration goes live. So if you guys are interested in that, put a thing in the chat and let me know, and I'll go ahead and post the link for it.
And that's a retreat for
But
all three of you together.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's the three of us, and Mo, Margaret Smith, is actually going to be our fourth person that's going to be there with us. It's a weekend in June. I am tailoring everything for it. It's going to be amazing. So if anybody's interested, yeah, let me know, and I'll post the link, and you can read all about it.
Great. I'll say briefly about me. I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader. The eyes are a window to the soul. I also use it to guide people to their soulmates. The retreat, where is it going to be located? What do you want to? It's in the greater Seattle area. So it's going to be out here where all four of us live. And Mo lives there too. And people want the link. I'll put it in the information about you too.
There it is.
That's a clickable link? All right.
Yep.
Great. Yes, that's a page on Kai's website. Yeah, so I read people's eyes. So I use archetypes to describe what I see. So my aim is to give you a better understanding of your soul purpose. And how you go about doing things in a way that's most natural for you so that you can give yourself extra permission beyond what you've given yourself already to make choices that are in alignment with your purpose and where you feel ease and energy. I want you to be able to share the best of you with the world, share as much of it as you can, and you get rewarded and energized in the process of doing that. And my aim is to help you make choices of what you do, who you do things with, so that you can find the people that are really aligned for you with whatever you're up to. And one of the ways I love to do this is matchmaking. I'm reading your energy as well as reading your eyes. And I don't understand all of where I pick up information from. Some of it is more scientific and easily teachable, and then other parts are just my intuition coming in. I also run all the MeWe fairs, so lots of different events in Washington and Oregon, and lots of events online, including this one. I'm grateful to be in the same place with all three of you, Kai and Crystal and Matt. I get the experience of connecting with you and learning from you, and it's great that we have this format now online where I get to participate in these conversations. All right, I'll put information about me in the chat too. I put information about all three of them, and Kai, I'll add your link into your information. Well, I'll add it maybe in for all three of you, but I'll just put it on yours. And yeah, it's a beautiful page. The Alchemy of Becoming. Yeah. I've had the pleasure of hosting some of the events that you've had before. I've had the pleasure of being in them. And yeah, those are wonderful, great experiences for those of you that are interested in not only receiving all kinds of healing and experiencing so much growth, just being in the field of all this and watching them work and learning from all of them is splendid. Oh yeah, and this is going to be 3 days. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's gonna be fun. Can't wait.
Well, in general, the floor is open. Maybe let me just say kind of like the way this works again. So this is a conversation event. We're here to talk with you. So you are welcome to ask questions, share ideas and experiences. You are welcome to answer questions. You are welcome to come up on screen if you want. You'll be recorded, video and audio. If you want, you can talk from your chair and then it'll be audio recorded. Or you can actually talk about things confidentially if you want. Anonymously, you can private chat me things if you want. You can just put things in the chat and we could all know to not say your name out loud. Give us a warning though, so we all know that and pay attention to that. Yeah, we want you to be able to participate here. And all topics are open. I think there's really nothing we wouldn't talk about. We want to make sure that we get to a variety of topics tonight. I think no one has paid to receive individual personal work tonight. That's fine. It's just if you want that, that's available. We're here for the conversation. We have different guests each time. So Matt is our guest today. So definitely we'll probably flow in the direction of the things that are interesting to Matt and that involve Matt a little more than the other times. But other than that, everything is just open for whatever we might do. If you know there's a topic you want to talk about, you can put it in the chat. You also can just raise your hand in Zoom and raise your hand. We can, I can't see everybody on screen all at once, but ideally, if you raise your hand in Zoom, let us know if you want to talk. But yeah, and if this is not like a crazy fracas kind of thing, you can just unmute and start talking. Like we're here for the conversation. Weird words I don't usually say. But yeah.
So does anybody have anything that they want to talk about as far as like, I had this weird experience. What is that? Um, how do you do that? What is that like? Anything like that?
Both of you mentioned entities. How do you know? How do you, because I do believe that we do not see whatever reality is. We know we don't, there's something out there, yes. But how do you know? Is it the people, how people act, or what do you see? Or, it's like, that's kind of the question.
Yeah, that's legit. Like for me, I actually can see them. Like my abilities allow me to see them. So I can look at someone and I can see if there's something attached on the outside of them. And I can actually look into their energy and see if there's anything embedded in them. Other people do think, other people just feel the change in the energy, the difference between, because there's a significant difference between the energy of the person and the energy of the entity. And some people can discern that. So there's different ways of doing that. Everybody's a little different depending on their abilities, but I have always been able to see. So that's how I find them. That's how I know that they're there because I can actually see them.
Can you explain or describe of what you see? Is it blurriness, or is it
Oh
actual
no,
facial
it's still
figure, or
fine.
No, it's a like a figure. And I think because of the fact that I grew up Catholic, that I have this standard kind of perception of angels and demons. And so it's like I've seen all kinds of like scales, claws, fangs, yellow eyes, all of that, scales. I see all versions of that. I've seen things literally walking on the ground with, and for me, my vision can get really, really clear to the point where they're solid. They cast shadows for me. I've seen things crawl up on the walls, crawl across the ceiling, that kind of stuff. That's how detailed my vision is. I can hear them, I can talk to them. And so for me, that's what my perception allows. Most people don't have that depth of perception because literally I can see the things of which nightmares are made. And most people are when they see something, like their brain just goes, yeah, I don't think so, and it stops. But because I've been seeing it from the time I was literally an infant, because my mom knew I could see before I even spoke my first word, that at now that I'm older and I understand what's happening, that's how I see them. That's my perception. Other people see things completely different. Like Matt has a different way of looking at things. I mean, he can see things too, but it's different.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't want to see them because I don't want to have look at nightmares crawling all over my ceiling. No, but I can feel them, and then if I look, I know they're there. Um, and they come in lots of different varieties. Um, I really don't want to have a conversation with them. I just no, I don't want any of that. It's just like, no, you bye, send them on their way. And some of them I can't. Some of them are out of my range at this point. I can get a lot of them, but I like to say I'm a general practitioner, and if you come and see me and I see something on you and I try and get rid of it and I can't, I'm like, okay, you need to see a kidney specialist because this goes beyond what I can do for you. So I refer people to Kai and Matt if it's something that doesn't listen to me. So yeah.
I'll give you a couple of different examples. So doing a house clearing, eyes open, out in the side of the side yard, trying like when this is kind of a dramatic situation. So as we're doing the house clearing, I leave the master bedroom and walk into, I think it was like the living room, and everything started crashing off the walls and the dressers, like you'd see in a movie. And for me, my personality is I start laughing. I'm like, you guys are so weak. You can't, you don't have the power to do it when I'm actually in the room. And so, when you kind of put your finger in the bee's nest, sometimes stuff happens. So as we're clearing the house, I go outside and I'm standing in the side yard and I see what looks like, I mean, an orb. But, I've seen orbs with my eyes open, white, different colors. But this was like black, very dark, razor blades, and flying right at my face. And it's the thing where you're like your body's terrified because you're like, what in the world is that? But inside I'm like, like once you get used to this kind of stuff. So commanded to leave, and I'm being like, let me like lower my energy a little bit. Commanded to leave, it leaves, comes back, commanded to leave again, and finally it leaves. Like that's one example of like you could call that, people would call that a lot of different things. I would call it a demonic or entity transportation device of how they were coming into the property. That was one of many. You could call it a portal, you could call it an orb. How I was trained is you would just call that an angelic transportation device. So angels, demons. So when you see a white one, a blue one, it's different angels coming through. And then when it comes to people, my trick is I look at somebody's shoulder and but what I do is I look at this, by the way, this is top secret. I'll look at somebody's face, but as I'm looking at their face, I look to the side. And for me, I just because I was a youth pastor years ago and I was teaching the kids how to do this stuff like in a church. Um, that I just figured out like, hey, this is like a science laboratory. Let's figure out how this stuff works. Because I would just see eyes open mostly. By the way, I didn't know people close their eyes until probably like 40 years old to see stuff. Um, and then the knowing, the claircognizant, that was how like I would just be around someone to be like, oh, they have a demon. Like, and that was the language. I didn't grow up with any religion until my 20s, was in like Christianity for 30 years. So that's kind of where I came from. And then yeah, I would just look at somebody's face, look at their shoulder, and I would see shadow people. Um, I've seen things, lumps in people, which you would call a disembodied spirit. Like everybody could physically see it moving. That was in Africa. And in Africa, you see a lot of that kind of stuff because that's what they work with. And I always like to make the joke the African witch doctors can turn a person into a snake, and that's not an exaggeration. So, shape shifting, all that kind of stuff, messing with your mind. So, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'll say for me personally, I don't always know if somebody has a demon or attachment because just like Crystal said, I don't want to know. I want to meet somebody. I want to know their heart. I want to know their personality, who they are. I don't want to see somebody through all of their trauma issues and all that kind of stuff. So I learned probably 12 years ago to start to turn it off because I was literally walking around and be like, oh, demon, demon, demon. And it actually just made me angry and suspicious of everybody. And a nice guy said to me, hey, that's really nice that you can see demons, but do you see anything good? And I was like, mad. And then I was like, oh, he's right. And it's not that I didn't see good things, but like there is something to if you want to tune into that stuff, yeah, it's easy to see. And I think most people don't see things because it's fear. Like why would anybody want to see that stuff unless you're actively trying to engage with, I would say, the wrong team? Then, most people aren't really, going into that stuff unless you were born that way. And just like Kai, like I've been seeing things since I was a little kid. And luckily I had parents that didn't say like, oh, you're making this stuff up because I'd be screaming for my dad, dad, because there was stuff, beings in my room. So Yeah, that's how it works for me. And I'll say this last thing is when I'm working with somebody um in person, because you just if you think of just practicality, you have like I'm putting my hand in somebody doing healing, it's all sometimes the information's just coming and I'm not sitting there going like, do I see it? Do I know it? But a lot of times if I know, oh, it's on their back, then I'll look and then that's when I see it and then that's when I'll remove it. And even to the point where it's funny, I was doing work on this guy and Kai was in the room in the audience and she's thinking like, is Matt gonna see that thing attached to that guy's back? Or it was something like that. And I'm doing my thing and it's like, yeah, then I remove it. But in when I coming from Christianity, you don't tell every single person, oh, you have a demon and you have an attachment and you have this. You just remove it for the person, the ones that are not going to come back where because why would people want to know that they get freaked out, but it's the ones that are kind of more diabolical that don't just leave easily, like there's like a whole process that you have to go through to kind of get that stuff out, and I think that becomes more of a lifelong process that most people probably don't want to engage with because it's not always easy, but that's how it works for me.
And what did you call it in your introduction? There's a more, I think of it as religious context word that you use for this.
Yeah, so the Catholic exorcist, so I just call it exorcism. They're, you know, I don't know what else to call it. Like we called it from Protestant, I was a Protestant, so we called it like deliverance. Clear, I never heard of clearing before until like 2 years ago. But I always just like to joke like it doesn't matter what you call it, it just needs to go.
Well,
That's
Yeah.
the
It's a technicality because according to the Catholic Church, it's only their trained individuals that can actually do exorcisms, which is why other people call them deliverances, but it's essentially the same thing by a different name.
I have a few comments, questions. So I imagine that if someone is willing to see them, if they're negative, they'll appear in whatever way that person finds negative and scary. So that's why Kai, they look one way to you and they look a different way to you, Matt, right? So
Yeah,
whatever it
because
is
it's
that
based
we,
on your perception. Yeah,
okay, and
yeah,
then
absolutely.
what do non-malevolent things look like for the things that you see?
It all depends on what it is. And again, it comes back to, so you get a knowingness, you get a cognition or whatever you want to call it, that this is there. And so in that same moment, it's like, okay, let's look at it at an energetic level. I mean, my eyes are open, I'm looking, but I'm actually seeing something that physical eyes necessarily don't see. Um, and it's different shapes. They don't show up with massive tons of definition like a ripped abs or something, or like, it doesn't show up like that because that's a human form, and none of these things are in a human form. They're energy.
Well, I'm saying again, it's
Um,
probably based on whatever you would anticipate or expect, or all the
yeah,
stuff that you are that bring to what you see.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
for sure.
I've talked to people that said they woke up in the middle of the night because an angel was holding their hand, and they opened their eyes and they could see a angel of color that was literally holding their hand, and they could see the wings and everything. So I think it kind of depends on, like, kind of what you were saying, Lorelei, is maybe the expectation you would have, or how you would allow that information into your life experience to then kind of catalog it in some way. Um,
yeah, I can think of a funny like because I've done this stuff like for publicly for 12 years, I've had a lot of people come to me with just wild stuff, right? And one of the funnier ones was this African guy who's living in America, and he says, "I keep commanding this demon to leave my house, and it won't leave." And he was very like, "It doesn't make any sense." And I go, "Well, what does it look like?" And he's like, "It's black. It's very, very dark." And he describes everything, and I go, "That's not a demon." And he's like, "What?" And so we kind of go through the process, and he was conditioned to think anything dark was bad. And so it was really funny because I was like, yes, there are some very dark beings that you don't want anything to do with, but this is like, it'd be if you saw a blue being and you're like, okay, is it negative? Is it positive? Is it what is it? So I think, I've seen aliens, I've seen all kinds of different things, but like I think that's the part is I think people just forget to ask the question, what did you actually see, feel, sense, know? And then that's because I'm just curious anyway, like to know, like, what did the person actually see? Because just like Kai said, is like people will, whatever their background is, they'll call it like when the first time I heard somebody say, oh, I have an entity. And I was like, oh, what kind of entity is it? Are you running like, is it a Fortune 500? Like, what kind of entity? Because that's the dictionary definition of an entity. I didn't know, is it like some kind of attachment? I was like, what? So do you see that's always the funny thing is like put the judgment like down of like whatever you think something is and just like start asking questions. And tell you one more story. There was a well-known pastor. He he was getting his doctorate in engineering. He had an encounter and he didn't, this is not how he described the encounter. He said it was an angel. It was a blue light being that gave him this ad hoc on demand technology for cellular communication. He wrote his doctoral dissertation. His book is like this big. And he was going around sharing how he had this angelic encounter. But as he's telling this at church where I was at years ago, I'm looking at him and I'm seeing this blue being going, buddy, that's not an angel. So if you think of these things like animals, how many animals are there across the world? Extinct, not extinct? That's how I think of kind of the realm of all the interdimensional beings. Um, that's whether it's on the another planet or this one or in another dimension. I think that's how I view it is it's like, is it a giraffe? Is it a walrus? Is it a little cat? So,
Yeah, because I mean, it's all of it is dependent upon our limited human perception.
Mhm.
So, somebody will say like, "Oh my God, I saw this thing. There's this," and I look at it and I'm like, "Nah, it's only a blah blah blah." And they go, "Oh, well, and I said, you have to think about the differences in our perception. To you, it looks like this. To me, it looks like this." And so that's, and then take into account what that means and then decide what you're going to do about it, if anything. Even if the answer is, I need to call somebody else to do this because I don't got it. I can't do this. Right. It's,
Mhm.
I always encourage people that whatever you do see, even, if it's negative or positive, whatever, you have to decide what it is that you want to do about that, if anything, because demons are everywhere. I mean, I can walk through the grocery store and they're sitting on top of the freezer case. And I just keep on walking and I go get my pizza and I get in line. I don't care. Like it doesn't bother me at this point, right? But at the same time, I could be standing in line with a guy who's got an angel standing next to him who's actually supporting him because he's sick. He doesn't look sick, but I know that that's why the angel is standing there. So if you allow your perception to expand, you can see everything if that's what you choose to. In my case, I came geared like that. It's not necessarily something that I was like, yep, I'm making the choice and I'm doing it. I already came preloaded with that software. But you get to decide what level of that you want.
Great. And
So
go ahead and just know we've got some questions or comments and
I
from the
know.
audience too. Go ahead.
So how can you tell the difference? If it's a benevolent entity, then you're not going to feel overwhelmed or pushed or coerced or manipulated, extorted, shamed, or anything like that. You're not gonna be quaking. You might be quaking in your shoes because it's so amazing you've never seen anything like that before. But it's a positive experience. It's an enhancing experience. Yes, it might be like off the charts energetically, but that's a positive experience. If it's a negative energy, then it's going to make you feel anxious. It's going to make you feel doubtful. It's going to make you jump at every shadow. It's going to consume your thoughts, and you will not be able to break out of, say, a negative thought spiral or a loop. It will start attacking you, and it could also be doing stuff to other people that you're living with as well. So that's one way you can kind of start to tell if something's in the space. I just wanted to put that out there. So, okay.
No, that's
Thank you.
great. So we've got at least a couple comments or something from the audience, and we have a personal question that we want to do before we change topics. M, did you want to come up on stage? Do you want to say something from your chair? Yes, on stage. Okay, I'm bringing you up. All right. What do you want to share? You're muted. Let's get you unmuted. Why is the unmute being so difficult today? All right, let's try that again. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Thank you so much. Yeah, what I see um, is usually when I have my eyes closed or in an liminal space, and sometimes when I'm meditating, is two concentric rings. And the rings are consistent with like little, like large dots on the outer part, and sometimes I can see just like a little bit of like a little circle in them, followed by a ring of smaller dots on the inside. And I know it's a being of sorts, and I've always thought, and I've never been threatened by them, so I always thought that maybe those are angels. Are those like what angels usually present as? Or is that a way angels can present? Or am I just seeing something else entirely different?
Well, that's how they present for you. I mean, part of when our gift comes online is we almost have to learn the language of how spirit is communicating with us, how our guides are communicating, messengers, teachers, masters. It's like getting an image in my head and then it gets decoded and I go, oh, that means this. And there's a knowingness that comes with that as I decode that. And then I can share that information with whoever I'm working with. So that might be just for you about how whatever that is shows up for you. And that's part of this whole thing is getting more experience so that you almost are building like a dictionary or an app.
Like a database.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Database. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see that a lot, but sometimes I also see these circles. They almost look like pom-poms, except just like geometric lines, but they remind me of pom-poms. And I always consider those to be more like entities or other beings, maybe even other spirits that might be present. So,
well, here's the thing, like you can ask, like if you sense that those things are sentient, and they usually are into a certain level, just go up to them and go like, what are you? Who are you? Why are you here? And they will answer you. So you don't actually have to wonder about like, what is that? How does that work? Just go up to it and go like, what are you? Why are you here? Because the things that are positive, they'll say, I'm here to help you, blah, blah, blah. The things that are negative, they'll actually tell you, I'm here to destroy you. They'll say that. I mean, it seems ridiculous, but it's like, don't be afraid to ask the question. Whatever you're looking at, question it. Like, what is this? Because like, this is just how your perception is forming their shape. But it's like, if you want to know what that is, ask. You have that permission. It's like you're not at a loss in terms of position. Like you can walk anything that you can see, anything that you can perceive, you can walk up to it or get close to it enough to communicate with it and just be like, what are you doing here? And you can do that. And if you're and if it says, yeah, I'm here to destroy you, then you can say, well, now you can go because I don't need you. You know what I mean? Or if it's like, okay, I'm coming to help you, it's like, okay, help me with what? How can you help me? What is the best way to facilitate this to whatever it is that we're supposed to do together? You know what I mean?
And
Like,
what's the fine print?
yeah, like, what is it gonna, does it cost me anything? Like, whatever, like work out all the details. But I mean, ask the questions. That's the
And
most
be
important thing.
ask
Ask
the
the
questions and be
questions.
willing to know the answers.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And
And
trust
It's
yourself.
it's like I say, it's all really the same as shielding, right? With shielding, it only works if we know that it can work, if we're willing to have it work. It's up to us to declare what the shield is. So the same thing with entities, it sounds like. We have to be willing, we have to engage in a way to find out.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, because I have a friend who, like, there was an entity that was coming to help her with something, but he was kind of aggressive, I guess you could say, because what he was trying to do is like step into her body temporarily to transmit information, and she was just like, no, because she didn't understand what he was doing. And so like she basically kicked him out, which is within her right to do so.
Right.
But that's just, I looked at her and I just said, that's just poor communication, really, because he thought he could do that and you said no, and so you didn't get what he wanted to give you, that you were ready for. But so I said, yeah. So it's misunderstandings like that can occur because, again, our human understanding is limited. And so in order to increase our understanding, we have to ask questions.
Good. All right. Thank you so much.
I'll just add, if you don't get an answer, you don't know what it is. This happened to me a bunch of times. I ask source, God, whatever you want to, like, whoever you're working with. I'll just ask like 20 questions, and then I ask other people who do this stuff, and then that's how I've learned. Like, I would, like, I saw a purple dragon fly over my church years ago. And so I started asking people, do you know what a purple dragon is? And people just looked at me like I was crazy, especially from a Christian perspective as a pastor. People were like, this guy, like, what's wrong with him? But it was really funny because in the community I was in, that was just normal. But even though it was normal in that community, I was like, well, what's a purple dragon? And then you get like 10 different answers because I was like, I wasn't getting an answer from the dragon and I wasn't really sure I wanted to ask it. So that was also the other part of like, I figured out 8 months later what it was, why it was there, and then a bunch of other stuff. So, and it was listening to some random guy on the internet who started talking about like seraphim angels, which a seraphim in the Bible is just, it's a dragon. It's one of the classes of angels. So, anyway, yeah, you just never know.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Maria. All right, Jay, do you want to come up on stage? Do you want to say something from your chair?
I'll come up on stage, sure.
All right, great. Up you come. Great to have you.
Thank you. Sorry for my strange, really strange video there. Anyway, so very glad to be here, and I've got a couple questions. The first one's for Kai. I remember a workshop I took from you in Olympia, and it was wonderful. And one of the things I remember clearly was you're saying if you're going to clear it, put it somewhere. Don't just say clear, And I've been doing. I have exponentially increased the work I'm doing with clearing myself. Like it's just becoming more of a brush your teeth, floss your teeth every day kind of a thing. And so when I do it, I call upon my galactic teams because for me, being connected to that ET world, there's, ones of them that I know are going to help me get rid of certain ones and all that. So, but I still am really curious about where do you have certain places that you put them, or is it just you get an intuition like, oh, that needs to go to Mars or whatever? And then I have a second question for the whole panel in a minute, but I wanted to ask you that first.
Yeah, well, for me, most of the things that I get rid of essentially goes to source, and then I
Mm,
don't think about it again.
mm,
There are a few things like if it's specifically, and the thing is like when I do these sort of things, I always work with my team. So like for instance, I just had a thing where I pulled an entity off of someone and they had like extra stuff attached to it. There was like apparatus, and so I pulled the whole thing out and I was gonna send it to source, and like I got this like full stop kind of sensation, and then like the scenery changed and I'm literally looking at deep space and then there's a door open, and I was like, okay, is that where it's supposed to go? And they're like, yeah, everything goes there. I was like, why? They're like, that's a dimensional door, it needs to go back to its own dimension.
mm.
I was like, oh, okay. And so that's where it went. And so that's that's the exception. Most of the things that are part of this dimension and very close to this dimension, usually I can just kick it to source and be done with it. But there are some instances where I end up like actually putting things through dimensional doors instead. So that's my thing. But yeah, the whole thing about like don't just strip something and just like just don't just drive it out because it will go next door, and then when the your
Yeah.
your shielding has degraded enough that it can punch through, it's going to come right back.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. And then for the three of you, I'm wondering, or four of you, Lorelai included too, I wonder if any of you are noticing an increase in the number of people trying to do healing work that are having a hell of a time because it's really they're healing not just for themselves, but for an entity as well. But the entity's cloaked or whatever. And so I can think of certain things in my life. I'm like, dang, I've cleared and cleared or whatever. Or I'm trying to work on something. And it's just been coming to me lately. Is it really you, Jenny, that you're clearing for? Or are they just messing with you? Or are they trying to heal through me because they know I'll do it? Crystal, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Actually, this is a page out of Kai's book. Too
Oh,
many people, well, too many people try and heal from themselves to that person. And literally what you should be doing is imagining that you're tapping, mainlining from source and letting that energy come through you to do the work. For anything, for shielding, whatever, because that's an unlimited source. I visualize like I'm a battery and eventually I'm going to run out of charge. And then whatever I've got hooked up to, that's not going to respond as well. But so some people really do believe that they have to run that energy themselves. And there's also some people that believe they're supposed to take that person's energy into themselves. And it's like, oh, no. And then to
Yeah,
yeah.
never ever do that. Ever.
No, I have no desire to do that. And I have been hooking up lots and lots and lots and lots more with my highest self and asking my highest self to
Yeah.
do that. I just still, because of my own, there could be times with my own resistance where my highest self can't help me in a way because I'm resisting that help. And I'm wondering, anyway, I hope my question made sense. I don't know if it made sense.
Yeah. Well, another thing that you could do is just, I mean, because if you were in the class that you were talking about months ago that we did down in Olympia, that one
Yeah.
of the things you can do is focus on is just literally like raising your vibration. Even if it's only temporary, like set your intention, I'm raising my vibration to as high as it can go. And what happens is if you have something attached to you, sometimes it's high enough that you can just knock that stuff off because they can only attach to us at a certain energy point, and if you raise above that, then they have to let go because it becomes unpleasant for them. And so that's another thing that you can do. So if you've been clearing and clearing and clearing and clearing and you can't get rid of it, it's like literally try to like focus on raising your vibration, even if it's only temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Like get it as high as you possibly can, and then you'll actually feel things dislodge. And then what you do is you scoop them up and you send them to source.
Yeah. Got it.
So just want to make sure I understand the question. Say it again. Was it something about something about healers and attachments? Like, what was your question, Jenny?
So yeah, and I apologize because I started lumping a bunch of stuff into one quote, one question, but I did some overlays there. So basically, just wondering if you're all seeing an increase in that where people are trying to do their own healing work, but there's these beings that are kind of hitchhiking, if you will, trying to get either mess with them and or get their own healing through a human.
Yeah, I would I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I would say some people just want attention, that something bad is happening because it
Mm.
gets you attention.
Hmm.
I rarely ever experience attack problems, all that kind of stuff. It does happen, but it's very, very rare. And I think sometimes people who are having constant stuff, it's just because they have an attachment or a curse, or they've been a part of some thing that they're not, you could call it past life, current life, whatever. I'll just give you like a simple example because this theme keeps coming up. I keep having clients who are connected to Freemasonry
Mm,
and they can't get free of whatever it is they're doing good, but it's like there's like this weight on them that just keeps coming back.
hmm
And there's so many organizations that are part of Freemasonry and people just are not aware. And it's usually great grandpa. And so they have to go through, well, they don't have to do anything, but they go through like a renunciation process and then they're shocked, like, oh my gosh, all this stuff lifted off of me. Because if you just think of the rituals that people do, that, like, let's say grandpa is a Mason and he goes through this ritualistic process. Well, what happens is if he breaks any of the oaths he makes, that curse falls on the family line and you're like the unsuspecting person. And then it falls on that person, it could be 4 generations later and you did nothing to deserve it. It's not karma, it's not sin, it's not any of these kind of things. It's just literally you're minding your own business and, grandpa broke his oath and now it's on you. And so I think that tends to be, and again, I have a bias because sometimes I have some really interesting things that come up, but sometimes people, secret societies, Freemasonry, all that kind of stuff, and it could be trauma. But I think sometimes people call something a demon or an attachment and they just need a good therapist, and then sometimes they need to get rid of their therapist and just go see somebody like us.
hmm
That's where the discernment is like tricky because yeah, sometimes you need to cast the demons out of your therapist.
When you were saying that sometimes someone wants drama, so sort of like someone would carry around a low level, not that bad entity, in a little backpack essentially, so they could complain and then when they're really sucking energy from other people, they're really an energy vampire kind of thing.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Lorelai, do you see when you do your eye readings, on this same question, do you, what is it? Are you ever seeing anything like that where there's somebody maybe coming to you for some reading or something and you
Well,
can see something through their eyes?
I was gonna say I've not chosen to see these things, so I don't see them. However,
Okay.
I can certainly tell when people's energy is heavy and when there's other
Yeah.
stuff that's kind of a problem. And there are some people where I like, oh yeah, I'm sure they've got stuff. So I just kind of sense it, feel it, maybe
Yeah.
more than
Yep.
I don't see.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
I
Thank you.
and I'm not certain, but I that's yeah, that's kind of how that comes up.
hmm Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, great, thank you. I know we've got let's see,
I think Marcella
an
was waiting.
M. Yeah, yeah, excited. Did you want to ask a question from your chair? Do you want to come up on screen with us? What do you want to do?
Oh, yeah, sure. I can come on screen. Hello,
Great.
everybody.
Hi, great
Hello.
to have you join us.
Yes, I just stumbled upon it today. I usually get you guys' emails and some today. I was like, today, right now? Okay, let's do it. So I've been listening, and I just want to say thank you guys for allowing this platform to be because there, like Kai said, there is no place where you can ask these kind of questions and
Yeah.
get to know yourself a little bit more and understand that you're not crazy. You know, people make you think you're crazy because you're talking about dark entities or lights or brights or what have you. But back in 2009, and I'm like, maybe I should ask this question. I've never asked anyone because no one has the answer. But I used to see like little crawly dark figures like over people's houses. They like look like little somebody identified them as like gens, I guess. I don't know. But and
As
then I
what?
used to see like gens,
Jin.
I don't know, dark figures. Yeah, gens. That's just what when you're brought up in a church,
Did
that's
you?
like Matt was saying, we come up with all kind of um descriptions of what we see. And then I used to see this thing that looked almost like a witch, but predator, and it had rows of teeth, and it used to just like stare at me, and with it, I wasn't afraid of it, and I was like, "You can't stay here. I'm going to sleep." Um, but I never knew like what it was, and like how Matt's describing, not everything is bad energy or bad or so now I'm like, okay, this is the space to ask, has anybody ever experienced that? Where, in your sleep. And then one time my daughter said she also saw something over me while I was asleep one time as well, too. And but I apparently I wasn't bothered by it. But does anybody know what those are? It's like she had like rows of teeth. I'm saying she. It could have been a he. I don't know. And like spikes coming. It was dark, and yeah, that's what I saw a lot. And they came to me a lot.
Yeah, it's like that it always depends because different things show up. Sometimes they're regional, right? So you can have like one thing that could, like, for instance, like a skinwalker, right? It's like that's what it's normally called, but in other places, other parts of the world, it will have a different name. So the thing that you saw, like, I don't exactly know what it's called, but I'm sure there are other people in that area that have probably experienced that same thing you did, just in a different way. And you were able to see certain aspects of it. Because sometimes what happens is people will see, like, they might just see like the head part and not necessarily be able to see the teeth. Or some people, they just see the teeth and they don't see anything else, right? For you, the most important thing to think about is, how does it make you feel when it's there? Like, if you're not bothered by it, that's your energy basically saying, yeah, I acknowledge you. Like, I acknowledge that you're there and I see you, but you can't hurt me. And
Right.
then it's just a matter of like, okay, you know what? I don't want you in my house. I don't want you anywhere near me or my family. So get out, find someplace else
Mm-hmm.
for yourself to be. Um, because to me, it feels like it's an entity, a spirit, a ghost, a demon, whatever you want to pick your label, that tends to be in that physical area. Like, it has a territory. Sometimes they have territories where they roam. And so that you are in what it considers to be its territory,
It's territory. Okay, got
and
it.
your energy is strong enough to attract it. And so it comes to you to either see if you can be used in some way, like a battery, or if it needs to
Uh,
try to take you out because you're too strong. I think at this point, it feels like it's still like not sure. Like, can I tap into that? So that's why it still comes to, I'm hearing that it still comes to visit you every now and then. So every once in a while you'll be like, you'll see something out of the corner of your eye and you'll feel like that's it. And then but then you'll just continue on with the rest of your day, right? You're just like, yeah, whatever, and you'll just keep going. But
Mhm.
that's why. So I think at this point, what you need to do, or what I would recommend you do, is establish your boundaries and be like, this area here, this, my house, my land, my whatever is mine. You can go. And just establish,
yes,
this is my perimeter, this is my territory. You don't come here. And then
yes.
you'll
And
then
and
you'll have less of that.
and it came around 2009. That's when for the most part, like when I saw them the most, like 2009, 10, 11. And it was during the time I was the most spiritual in a church. It was like this church that I had to walk away from. And I don't know if that was attached to them and it was coming home with me, or, hopping in, I don't know,
Well, I think
and
at that point your spiritual ability jumped up at that point, and
mhm,
it noticed you. Because most people, it
yeah.
doesn't pay attention to. It's just like when you hit a certain level, then you become interesting.
Oh, okay. So that could have been to see, are you going to keep, seeking God or praying, or getting stronger? Or are you going to get weak and bow into
Well,
the
here's the thing
negative
though.
part of
Here's the thing. People think that because they're associated with the church, that means that they're automatically strong. That's not true. Like, I can tell you right now, I can walk into a church and I'll be like, demon, 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 demon.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So it doesn't matter. It's like, it has to do with the integrity of your energy, the integrity of like how you live your life, that determines how powerful you are, whether that be you're dedicated to God or you're dedicated to the great spaghetti monster. It doesn't really
Right.
matter. So for you, what happened is your ability ramped up. And so that's when that entity that was already in the area was like, oh, that's interesting. Let me go look at that.
Okay.
And
And
Okay.
I'll give you like the short piggyback. I would just call it a territorial spirit. And then
Oh,
people don't like we used to back in the day when I was a pastor in a church, people would come for the presence of God, right? And they would come into that atmosphere because it's easier to experience stuff. So people don't realize, I mean, there's a lot of people that are just sheep and asleep, that go to, it doesn't have to be a church, it could be any organization, but a lot
yeah.
of people can have a heightened experience in that atmosphere. And then you go home and it's that you still carrying that atmosphere.
Right. And that's funny that you say territorial because that's exactly how I felt it was. Because during that time, I had also fasted like more than 20 something days. And I remember having a dream and I went into the church and I screamed like loud, like, I'm not going anywhere, to all the, whatever was in there because I felt like it was trying to get me out of there because I was really in tune with what I was trying to learn and read. And so I remember that. I remember it being like something about territorial, like this is mine, or what are you doing here, or, something like that.
Yeah.
you want
Kind
to
of
talk a little
reminds
bit?
me of
Go ahead.
just like another predators and like looking at you like, are you another predator or you're in my territory? Can I chase you out? What do I do with you? And so I'm just going to walk around all stiff-legged and show you all my teeth. And you're
Yep,
like, whatever.
yep, yep. That's
So it
exactly.
backs
Yeah.
down and then you're still there. So it comes back later on. It's like, tries to like intimidate you. And you're like, I ain't having none of that. So yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, it's good to know I haven't heard anything from any of you guys saying that it was harmful, or, sometimes people who experience things like that, they think that there's something wrong with them or that they're demonic. And I didn't get any of that, but you just still, this is a great space to, just kind of close that out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it does have the potential to do harm. That's kind of that's
Oh,
what it's geared to do. It's like that's part of protecting its territory. But at this point, like I said, you're interesting enough to get its attention, but at the same time, like I think my sense of it is like you're too strong for it to directly attack you.
Hmm.
But I think it's
yes,
important for you to establish your territory, like within, like, yeah, you can roam wherever you want, but this is my house,
yes. Okay,
kind of
got
thing.
it.
And
And
then
that's when I
because
start seeing them on the streets. And when you're driving, I start seeing them, at night, just start
yeah,
seeing little things crawling. And I'm like, let's get home. So yeah,
yeah, and the thing is too is like you want to establish your own territory within whatever it considers its
my space.
territory, because you're not just protecting yourself, you protecting your family.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you can turn it off so you don't see them when you drive if you want to do that. You can turn off your
Oh,
ability to see them.
and somehow I felt like I've established that if you want to roam and share this space, or you want to be out here, whatever you want to do, that has nothing to do with me. Because I have 5 kids, so of course I had to go into protective mom mode, to make sure they weren't being attacked and things like that. But for the most part, I don't see any of those anymore. I just see like shadows in the corner. Um, and recently I've been seeing, I believe I've been seeing my angels. They're just like standing there, like, I'm here. I'm like, okay, so,
Yeah, no,
but
that's
like,
good. It's
just
like, yeah, you get to decide what you want to see and how much of it you want to see.
got
I'm
it.
like, for me, it's
Okay.
like I don't usually turn it off, but at the same time, I don't pay attention to it either. So
Right.
you get
Okay.
to decide what level of and when. So for instance, if your kid comes home and they're like really upset about something, like that's something that I would turn everything on and just see if there's anything attached or anything related or that kind of thing. So you make the decision when you decide to turn all this stuff on. But yeah, I would say right now the most important thing is establish the territory of your around your house.
And do you just turn it on? Do you just say, okay, what do you, like you said, ask 20 questions? Why are you here? What do you want? Is that how you turn it on? Or?
No, it's just if I feel like something is here, then I'm like I want to like okay, I want to see what's here. So I can
Okay, got it.
address it directly and be like,
So like
get the heck out of
acknowledge
my
it.
house. Yeah.
Like and then you'll start to see. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
because
Okay.
that's part of that's how they operate in our world. It's like most people, the thing could be standing right in front of you, and most people are like la 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 la, like like they won't acknowledge it. The
Yeah.
minute you acknowledge it, then
It's like
they're
boom.
already at a disadvantage.
Got it. Got it. So it's better to acknowledge and see it so that it can let you know, like, hey, I know you're here. Go about your business.
Yeah.
So the quicker you acknowledge it, the quicker you can move on to the next stage, journey,
Yep.
direction you're going. Got it. That's so don't ignore it.
Yeah.
Don't be sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Got
mean,
it.
if I have
Okay.
something standing in front of me, I'm like, what do you want?
Okay.
And then,
Okay.
and if they tell me nothing good, then I'll be like, okay, now you can go away.
See, this is good because you don't want to come off as crazy, talking to air and, just,
And
you,
Matt, I know a little bit about how you do your healing. Do you command them to go away in the same way that you command the healing?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a territorial spirit, I probably would be curious, like, what are you doing in my house? But just like general stuff, like, yeah, I just command it to go. And then, everyone, whether they realize it or not, has an angel over their home. They have
uh-huh.
like thousands of angels working with them. Some people call it your guides, people call it, all kinds of different things. But literally, like, if you're seeing your angels, it's just like if you have a cleaner in your house and they're just standing there with a broom, not doing anything, like just respectfully, hey, it's okay to clean the house. That's
Yeah.
what that's what they're there for. So
Yeah.
I used to always say this in the church, like start talking to your angels more than you talk to your cat because they are so bored out of their mind. They're just standing there
Yes.
looking at you going like, because so I've met so many people that are freaked out because they can see their angels and they're not doing anything. And I'm like, yeah, they're bored. Like, ask them to help, talk to them. Like,
Yes.
they have an assignment. Like, get them going, you know?
We have to
Unemployed
ask.
angel.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
but we
angels
have to,
talk to my cat.
yeah,
And
we
it,
have to
it,
ask. We
and it
forget
goes
that
back,
part. We have to ask.
it goes back to what Maria said too, is like a lot of times people ask for the name of their angel and they don't get it because if you know the name, you have the identity, you have like what is behind the name, and then
Mhm,
you can use that angel in certain ways. So sometimes they're just not going to tell you. I mean,
mhm.
I've literally had an angel. I'm going to make up a name, but it'd be like my name's Bob, and I'm like, that's not your name, because it doesn't want to
No,
give like its real name.
His
no.
names have power.
I have an angel named Samantha. And I also have a cousin named Samantha. And when I came out of meditation, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Why would my angel's name be my cousin's name? But when I looked it up, Samantha's name in the Bible and things like that, it means God hears you, that he's paying, and I'm just like, oh. So I did ask for my angel's name. I don't know who told me to do it, but I asked for the four closest ones that are around me. And I did get their names. Yeah. But I don't put them to work, so they're unemployed. So I need to. No, that's good information. This is great. This is great information. Yeah. Okay. Well, the last thing is I signed up for the emails for the healing retreat or the retreat thing, and so I'm
Cool.
looking forward to getting information about that because it looks. I saw the information and it looks like something um, we need to start doing instead of just sitting around watching TV and doing other stuff and healing other people and heal ourselves. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you guys so
Thank you.
much.
All right, great. Thank you
Welcome.
so much. We had R, did you
There's
want to go? You
Marsha who
had your
had a
hand up. I know you had your hand up for a while. Do you want to come in now?
yeah,
We've also
Marsha,
got
you
Jake
want to
got
jump
their
in?
hand up now.
Oh
Yeah, it's
yeah,
up to you. Do you want to go now? Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
All right, let me bring you up here. All right, glad to have you here.
One,
And
I wanted to
actually,
thank,
you've got general questions and personal questions. So yeah, go for it.
cool. I wanted to thank Laureli for this panel. Crystal, Kai, and Matt. She struck gold getting the three of you at one time.
Oh,
So
it's
this is the
actually
first time
Crystal.
I've been.
Crystal and Kai are the ones that did this. So we would be at a fair
Really? Okay,
and I
well,
would be
awesome.
wandering around checking out the fair and they'd have a slow moment. And so the two of them are talking. Of course, they're talking about really interesting stuff. So I stop in and I'm like, oh, I want to stay. I want to stay. And I got to go over there and do stuff. And so one of them, both of them, they said, let's do it online. Let's bring everybody. I thought it was Kai too. Kai, let's just do this online and bring everyone in. So yeah, so we all get to have this conversation. So
Yeah,
thank you them for doing this. And it's been over a year.
Awesome. Thank you. So well, someone was just talking about angels and they were asking how people see different things. And it just kind of jogged a memory for me. I'm in Washington State now, but I grew up in Florida. And as far as seeing them, I remember I was leaving work one day and I was going to the parking lot. And at the other side of the building, my clairvoyance works really well. So I saw the secretary sitting at her desk crying. And I was like, come on, God, I'm going to be late for church. So I have a strong Protestant background too. My uncle was a pastor. So I'm going back and forth. And I'm like, no, I got to go. I can't go. But I saw her crying. So I turned around and went over there. When I went over there, she was having a conversation with me. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And she's like, I've been here crying all day. So after talking, she told me that her dad was in the hospital and they weren't sure how much longer he had. So I sat there and I'm one of those people that you could be having the worst day and I can get you to laugh and then I leave. So when she felt better and she started laughing, I was like, all right, I gotta go. So I left and I went to Bible study that Sunday. And during praise and worship, um, I saw this figure. It looked like when you see the old sculptures, I guess like Roman sculptures, how they look, like they have a lot of flowing cloth and the white marble. I saw a figure that looked like that, and it was riding on a white lion that looked similar, kind of like it was rush charging somewhere. And I was like, "Who are you?" And I heard Azrael, and I wasn't sure what who Azrael was, but I knew Azrael was an I assumed it was an angel. So after church, I went and I looked it up, and it said Archangel Azrael, I guess, helps to facilitate the passing when it comforts the loved ones, as well as it's the angel of death, I believe. But it helps people when they're passing, and it helps their family through the transition. So I was like, all right, okay. So it was around 6 o'clock the evening, and the following day, I found out that her dad died the same time that I was seeing that angel. So I just kind of started to pay attention to things more. Um, how many years ago was that? Maybe that was like 5 years ago. So for me, that's how I saw the angel. I know they were saying that we see things based on, but it didn't look, I saw no wings or anything like that. That's what I saw. Um, one of the questions that I had for you is, I've had my gifts since I was a child because my mom's like from 3 years old. I've been telling her, oh, this person's pregnant, this, and the other, right? I've heard things. And from time to time, what I notice with myself is if I decide, okay, today I'm gonna see auras and I'm gonna see them with my eyes or I'm gonna hear audibly, it happens. But it just happens in that instance, unless something happens to trigger it later on. And at this point, I feel like a jack of all trades, master of none, and I don't know like what direction to go into or if I should focus on something particular. I do Akashic Records channeling, I do mediumship. I've I'm practicing psychic now. Just because I guess it's the last one that I got to. I was working with a lady in a circle and she's a Reiki master and she offered to do healing for me. And I was like, okay, no problem. But at the same time, I felt like I needed to see what she was doing. So I was able to enter her energy to see exactly what she was doing to me. And when she was done doing the healing, she was like, what do you feel? And I told her what I saw and what I felt. And then I told her at the end of it, I saw these butterflies. And she was like, holy crap. And I was like, what? She's like, I use butterflies to transmute the energy and so that it goes away. So I'm like, all right. When I was doing her Akashic records, because she has an issue where she said she doesn't dream, and I told her that she dreams, she just doesn't remember them. When I started going back to see what was happening, I did see an entity attached to her. Something like, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Ring, but that thing that crawled up out of the The well,
TV? Yeah. Oh,
that's
okay.
what I saw. But
Mm.
before I saw that, I kind of saw some past life trauma that she's blocking out, and I think it has something to do with it. But I asked her questions, but because I feel like dealing with entities, even though I can see them attached to people, isn't in my wheelhouse, and I know not to go messing with anything that you haven't been called to or that you haven't been prepared to mess with. I know
Yeah.
not to do it. So I just left it there. I asked her a couple questions. I prayed for her and I left that there. But I don't know if any of you guys experience this. If you're supposed to tell someone something or if you're supposed to do something for them, deliver a message, and you don't, it literally nags me over and over until I do it. I kept seeing that thing for weeks. I had to pray it off and do a clearing. But my question to you is, was I supposed to do something about it? You know? I'm
No,
like,
no, you are not.
okay,
This is usually how it starts with people who are kind of like getting into it. At some point, there's a choice that you're going to have to make as to whether or not you're going to deal with these things or not.
okay.
You can absolutely choose, right? But
Mhm.
they're setting you up. They're like, this is what you're looking at. These are the kinds of things that you're going to start to see now in the people that you deal with. Not just your clients, but other healers, other people, random strangers. And you have to decide how far you're going to go as far as your abilities.
Okay.
Because everybody has limits, right? There's some people who are like, I will take care of the little ones. Anything over this size or this strength or whatever, I'm not touching. And
Okay.
that's okay. So this is where you're at right now with all your abilities that are developing, all the things that you're working on, all of this stuff is coalescing. And now basically the universe is going, okay, here's another thing. Do you want it or not? Again, it's one of those things where you can, it's to your benefit that you can actually see these things and that you can acknowledge that they're there, but you don't have to do anything about them. You
Okay.
can avoid them. I mean, there's some things like, for instance, if you're doing a like if you were doing an energy healing session, sometimes I will tell people if you have an entity that's attached and you know you can't get rid of it, like ask it to step aside. And then maybe it will allow you to do some work on the person that you're working on without disturbing its whatever it's doing with that person. Because honestly, whatever happens with that person and that entity, whatever it is, it's none of your business.
Mm.
There's a reason why that thing is attached to that person, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you. So you do not have to feel responsible in any way, shape, or form for
Okay.
removing everything that you see. Like I mentioned earlier, I walk through the grocery store and I see things sitting on top of the freezer case. I don't go through the grocery store and be like, you source, you go. I don't do that. I just go get my cheese and I leave. I don't
Mhm.
worry about that kind of stuff because it's not my responsibility to save everything, clear everything, change everything, fix everything. That's not our job. We are responsible for what is right in front of us. I'm responsible for the people who come to me and ask for help. So don't feel like just because you saw something that it's yours to handle because it's not. However, if it decides to jump to you, then that's a different story because then you're like, okay, now you're my problem
Yeah.
and I need to get rid of you, right? And again, you get to decide, okay, can I handle this or do I need to call somebody? Right? As long as you have this logical progression of if this then that, you're fine.
I'd
Crystal.
like want to share that, and Kai and Matt told me this, and maybe they've forgotten it, or I'm just going to throw it out here. Number one, we don't work on people without consent.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we have to ask their higher self, then that's what we'll do, because sometimes people can't communicate or they're not nearby where we can ask them. So we get their consent from higher self. But Kai and Matt will say, we don't just arbitrarily take a demon off of somebody because something bigger might come and take its place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we just don't want to just go around shooting everything and then leave, because there could be way more stuff going on than There could be a past life hookup, a generational hookup, a soul contract thing that's run crazy, a curse. It's can get very detailed and very screwy. Um, so you can always ask, is this mine? Is this mine to do? And hear what you get a good yes no inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can
Yeah,
ask, is this mine?
definitely.
Is this mine to do? And like Kai said, if that thing jumps on you, then all bets are off and you can kick its ass from here to next Sunday. So that's, yeah, you can do that. But yeah,
Two stories. I learned this the hard way. 130-pound woman on the floor, woo, and I'm like, shut up, I command you to come out. And the voice in her is going, you will not cast me out. And I'm laughing, right? And it won't come out. I'm doing everything I know. This is like the middle of church, in front of hundreds of people, and there was some other things going on. Short version, she comes back too, and I was like, "Did you know you had a demon?" And she goes, "Cause she," and I said, do you remember anything that just happened for 30 minutes?" She completely blanked out. And I said, "Do you know you have a," and so I ask again, and you can see she knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I was like, "Do you want it gone?" Well, and then she goes into this whole story. That was the first time I learned, like, I don't pet other people's demons, but I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I wasn't rude, but I was like, have a nice day. And then so that happened in church. My first expo, I came and I told people I was a pastor because I knew people would talk down to me, think I was didn't really know what I was doing. And I was just like, "Hey, do you do this as a hobby? Do you make any money? How does this work?" And I went to this lady's table and her demon came and stood behind me. It was about this tall as I'm talking to her, and she was actually really nice. And I go, "I just got to ask you, who's your friend?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" "Oh, he's about this tall." And I described what he looked like. And she was just like stunned. And she's like, "That's my protector demon." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. You set that up." And I'm just like, I'm laughing because it had to stand behind me because it doesn't have authority to stand in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, I have lots of stories like that. But as I got to know that lady later on, she was like, "I was so freaked out that you could actually see it, you know." But that's the part is like sometimes people set that stuff up like a booby trap. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I like that's where I just learned to mind my own business. So long version to say like even if you like what you I always tell people what you see you have authority over, but that doesn't mean just like the woman who said she saw a territorial spirit, that doesn't mean it's your job,
Mm-hmm.
because there was a book years ago written by this like prophet, and it was called Needless Casualties of War, where people would literally go try to take down a principality over a region
Yeah.
and they would be dead. And I actually know somebody who tried to take down the Principality of Hawaii, husband and wife, and she had a massive heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have lots of just like, yeah, don't, you may have the authority to do it, or you may think you have the authority to do it, you may be powerful, but it doesn't mean you should do it. So, like, you need, my perspective, you need the proper not just training and education and power, but it's like, is it even your job? And that's where I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people end up with attachments because they start doing stuff that they have no business doing. And by the way, I'm not saying you don't have business in removing attachments. Like
Yeah.
I think you clearly could, but it's like, I just want to be clear for like the whole audience of like, there's electricians, there's plumbers, there's framers. Some people can do a bit of everything, but it doesn't mean you should.
yeah,
And I guess,
Um,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I'm
no,
just agreeing.
yeah. It's funny that you touched on the principality thing because there was this apostle that was kind of a mentor of mine because I wanted to learn more about the angelic realm and different things. And he told me because he's pretty much like us, and he said, he asked me a bunch of things about where I lived. Like he laid it all out. He was like, this is here, this is here, this is the address. And he said there was a principality in that area that did not want you there because you were a light in the area. So it's funny where I ended up living, I saw myself living there I want to say maybe 12 years earlier before I even thought about it. And it was after I was there for like the third year. I was like, hold on. The dream came back to me because I get a lot of information in dreams. And that's when I realized. But I moved out of the area. And since I came to Washington, it's like everything is on fire. I've seen portals, I've seen light language before I even knew what it was. So things have intensified since I've been here. What I've always been interested in doing is not really exercising demons or doing anything like that, but I've always been interested in helping earthbound spirits to cross over and also in healing because I notice when I do mediumship, I connect with a lot of people's loved ones, mainly their mothers or their grandmothers who haven't passed, but they're suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's and I can communicate with them. And they're like, but hold on, my mom's not dead. She's still here. So I've always kind of wanted to work in healing with nonverbal people and things like that that can't get the point, like they can't communicate. So that's a direction I definitely want to go into. I just don't know how to get there at this point.
Well, I think once you start to build confidence in yourself in that area, that those things will start to manifest. Like you'll start having more people ask you to do that sort of thing.
Okay.
Because it's all a matter of timing, right? Like right now it's just not time because there
Mhm.
might be other things that you need to do and then you'll have some space for that when it's time for you to do that. Because there are a lot of people who kind of want that bridge, because yeah, there are people who have dementia and other types of brain disorders, like they do spend a lot of time in between.
Mhm.
And it's hard to communicate with them while they're there. And if that's something that you can do and get clear messages, because that's the thing, like sometimes like when I walk across, I can get all kinds of messages from different people, but it's like the other part that people don't understand is just because I can talk to the person on the other side, that doesn't mean they're going to answer your question.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'll go and I'll talk to grandma and like somebody would be like, ask grandma where the recipe is for the apple pie, and grandma's like, who cares?
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the other thing to consider too. So it's that, because people are still people and they still have their priorities until they completely cross over there. They are the same in that middle space as they were when they were alive. So if
Mm-hmm.
grandpa was a grouch when he was okay,
Yeah.
he's still going to be a grouch. You know what I mean? So
Same personality. Yeah.
you got to keep that kind of stuff in mind. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think, well, they're kind of crossed over, so I should be able to get whatever answers I want from them. And it just doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
So
I guess my question is, do you guys have anything for me? Like, I don't know. This is my first one, so I don't really know how it works.
You're doing fine.
And March paid for a personal question. So yeah,
Oh,
anything you
okay,
want
okay.
to say? Yeah,
Yeah.
she did.
I guess I'll wait and see if something pops up by the end, but
Well,
you guys have kind of been hitting all of the things that I had
I can say
questions about so far, so
I don't want to I don't know. I can be a little bit of a rush ahead, so this could totally be me in here. But I'm glad you asked about your own. I'm glad you shared more about your own gifts and that you didn't ask, but you talked a little bit about like what direction you want to go. Um,
okay.
like I appreciate you owning the gifts the way that you owned them today. You seem
Thank you.
to hesitate or hold back in some ways sometimes. So I was wondering if you wanted anything from them about like your pacing or where you're
Oh
heading or
yeah,
why
I
or
any feedback, any mentorship that they could offer that they're picking up on, anything that I'm missing, I would gladly appreciate. I do hold back a lot. I think I'm one of those people, like I said, I feel like I'm a jack of all trades and master of none, and that I was talking to my mom this morning and I was saying, well, some people I don't use divination as far as tools, but I'm trying to develop everything that I was born with to make it I guess just understand it more. Um
and
I was
and
telling her, I'm sorry, I was telling her I feel like the people that do cards or the people that do palm reading, I'm like, I feel like they have something more concrete that they can say, this is what I offer, this is what I do, and it draws more people to them. My one of my big apprehensions coming from a Bible-based background, or I guess the dogma from the church, or just how I was raised, is that you're not supposed to. it's a gift and you're not supposed to charge for it. I do understand the energetic exchange, and I have been doing readings for people, and then they'll be like, "Okay, what's your Cash App? I'll send you a love offering or something like that." But I guess I'm just trying to grow
people would say people would say you can't charge for this, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like that's just the control system.
yeah.
So think of this. If I pay you money, Marcia, for you to give me a reading, I'm paying for your every single year of your life, every single experience that's positive, everything that's been given to you. I'm paying for your time. I'm not paying for your gift. In the same way, if you go to trade school and you're an electrician and you work on my home, I'm paying for everything, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's like we understand how energy works. So
Yeah.
that's the part of I'm not going to just say get over it, but you you can charge people money for your time because if you came and cleaned a house, did like tutoring or did anything in between, you'd have no problem charging money.
Yeah.
The part where people get hung up on is like, what if you give them the wrong information? What if it's whatever? But again, you're doing your best. You're trying to help people. And I was trying to look for a card, but I don't like, I think I have like my son's old like ASB card. I was gonna pull it up and go, you could pull a card and prophesy off of it. You don't need stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's all in you. And no, you're not going to, you may get drained and tired because you get drained and tired, but it has nothing to do with your gifts and abilities. Like that's, I noticed there was two types of people when I would do this work. There'd be the people that'd be like, oh gosh, I'm just so tired. And it's like, yeah, sometimes people engage with their emotions and then that's where they start to ramp down and they can't do it. I literally would give readings to 100 people in
Yeah.
a like hour and a half session at like 3 minutes a person, just quick. And I was like bouncing off the walls. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
start going, I'm like, woo.
Yeah.
And not everybody's like that. You have to train yourself to be like that. But if you're working on emotion, then you will tire yourself out. If you're working on a gift, an ability, intuition, like your natural stuff, then it just flows.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's you want to use church language, gift of prophecy, gift of discernment. You could teach this stuff as well. So, that's the part of like the mentoring. You have the abilities. It's like this is always the hard part is when I look at somebody, like I look at you as kind of the completed package, but I realize you have insecurities like the rest of us and all that kind of stuff. But the only way you're going to gain the confidence is just doing it. And the reality is you already have enough people that say, "Oh, Marsha, you're actually really good at this. That like really touched me, that encouraged me." Like so I would say how many more encouragements do you need? Like how many more like pats on the back? Happy to give you another one, but I think that's the reality is most of us are like, looking for the pat on the back. And then here's the thing is like, whatever you decide to charge, and
Mm-hmm.
however you've been doing it, that's the part where your issues come up that have nothing to do with your gifts. It's
Yeah.
like your value. And that's where you have to go, why do I not value my time? Because if, like I said, if you were doing tutoring or anything else, you'd have no problem charging money. So that's the part that you'll have to go deeper into, like what's the root cause of of that.
You're absolutely right because I am a baker and it was the same thing with my cakes. I got to a point where I started charging, but for years I would do like 3-tier wedding cakes and birthday cakes and give them away for free. And I'm like, okay, well, just pay for the ingredients and I'll make you the cake kind of thing. So it's not just this, it's something that goes deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess one more question. I'm sorry, go ahead, Crystal, and then I had a question for you guys.
Okay. You've got to stop saying that you're not a master.
Yeah.
I was a general contractor and I am a jack of all trades. I can do just about anything. And I learn different stuff at different times, and it makes me very versatile. I can walk into a house and see all kinds of stuff. In fact, when friends are going to buy a house, I say, will you come along with me and look at the house? Because I won't see stuff that you can see.
Yeah.
You've got to give yourself credit for everything you've done to be in this place, overcoming the doubts, believing what you're experiencing, sharing information that you get. You are worthy. You have nothing to prove. We're all worthy. We forget that we're spirit. We forget when we get here because this human body is not designed for remembering anything until we get a lot older. And by then we have a lot of programming to wade through before we can get to back to the point that it's baked in. We are innately worthy. And the divine didn't choose you, so to speak, just to let you sit in the corner.
Yeah.
It's like, don't hide your gift under a bushel, that type of thing. So you have to maybe ask yourself, what would it mean if you were worthy?
Got it.
What would that look like? And then you can see like what's stopping you, because you'll hear all the other things in your head when you ask yourself that question. And those are all the limiting or false beliefs that are running in your unconsciousness that kind of put the squeeze on things when you go to try and move forward. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you for letting
Crystal.
me add that in. Mhm.
Okay,
No,
so
I
now
really appreciate it.
my contribution to this is that I want to say that there's a couple things to consider. First of all, sometimes, because I know I have the same thing, like things that are easy for me, I'm like, I don't want to charge that much for it because it doesn't cost me much time or energy. But other people who would struggle with that, like they would be like, oh my gosh, this is going to take me forever. I need to charge a lot for it, right? And so sometimes that mentality will hold us back. And the other thing to consider is that people like us, shamans, healers, people, way back when we all lived in villages, we didn't have to earn money because the village took care of us in
Mhm.
exchange for what we do for them. Okay. But it's not 2026 and this shaman has bills to pay. So I need to collect money, right? And so that is the reality of where we live now. And so because you go surfing in the Akashic records, you go looking for an Akashic record that says that you have a vow of poverty. And if you find it, you burn it so that
Yeah.
you do not have to carry the energy of that forward, because that is something that, priests still do it, right? They take that vow of poverty kind of thing, and their organization supports them. We don't have that anymore. We have to support ourselves. So that is the reality of it. So if you have something like that, you need to burn it, get rid of it, so then that way whatever financial things that are trying to come to you because of your abilities have that opportunity.
Yeah, no, that really makes a lot of sense. The last thing that came up for me to ask, and I guess for some reason I was really being drawn to Kai, but it goes for all three of you. Um, I have this thing where I have to be careful what I say, especially when I'm angry because it happens. So, and basically since I was a little kid, my mom's like, be careful what you ask for because whatever you ask for, you always get. Like within a few minutes or within a few days. So I've noticed that if someone gets me angry and I say something, whatever I say have said in the past has happened. So I've really had to be super conscious about what comes out of my mouth. Have any of you ever experienced that?
Yeah, I was like that when I was little, when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And then after a while I was just I learned, yeah, to be like I just basically stopped speaking, honestly. I would think all this stuff in my head, but I would never actually say anything. Because when I was little, like when I was like 5 or 6, yeah, I'd be like, it's gonna rain. All of a sudden, be doing stuff like that, and my mom's like, yeah. So, yeah, when I was little, I used to have that. I'd be like, yeah, I see somebody walking on the street. I'm like, yeah, he's gonna fall down, and then all of a sudden, the guy would crash. I mean,
How,
just weird stuff like that.
how did you come to trust yourself to let yourself speak more?
I think, well, even now, I'm always like, if I'm just gonna have a conversation, I can have a conversation. It's not a big deal. But if I like say stuff like, that guy really gets on my nerves, I wish something would happen. Like, I have to not say things like that because I have enough energy that I can actually manifest that and potentially hurt other people. So I've always been, and that's part of my issue is like I still have that where I have to be careful what I say, how I say it, because I know that I have enough power to push something and create something that potentially might hurt somebody else. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Marsha, so Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prophesying over the one of the leaders. You're an oracle, your words bring life and death, blah blah blah, right? Meeting ends, we're driving down the road. She's in her 70s. She says to me, "So what's this oracle thing? Is it were the words really manifesting like that?" And I go, yeah, like if you can heal, you can kill. And I said it's
Mm,
much easier to do darkness than it is to do light.
yeah.
And she just goes, is that why a young man broke his leg at church a couple weeks ago? And I go, what do you mean? She goes, I said to him, if you don't start going to church, something bad's gonna happen to you. And I just was like this. And he literally
Yeah.
broke his leg. And I said
Yeah.
to her, like, you have to stop doing that. And I said, you
Yeah.
need to make that right. And in those scenarios, even though I was considered here, you don't talk to someone like that in the church realm. Um, she didn't really appreciate me talking to her like that. And this is pretty dramatic, but she died 8 months later. Because that stuff, when you do diabolical stuff to people,
Yeah.
it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about karma and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I always just caution people, if you if you can see something manifest, spend all of your energy into making good things manifest. Because I have lots of stories like that. Because there would be pastors, prophets, whatever, that were just basically a dark witch, that were just doing diabolical things to people. And then they were charging money in the process. And so there wasn't just the words that were manifesting, there was an energetic exchange financially. So it was like double like so yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I just try to if I get upset or if someone and I don't really let people trigger me that much anymore because I'm like, you know what? They had a bad day. Maybe their cat died or something. So I try to think that way and I say something positive instead or I pray for them because I've come to realize that when anger is heavy. It's really heavy.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
yeah.
And honestly, the thing is like it's triggering something in you. Like in
Hmm.
other words, like you already have like a core of anger or a
Hmm.
core of rage. And every time somebody says something, it just like pokes the button
Yeah.
and that's what causes it to rise like that. So that's another thing that you might want to look at. It's just like where's the rage stored in my body and release
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like whenever someone comes at you, you have to remember, like try to remember, and it's hard to do when you're in the middle of a situation. It's like that's not mine.
Hmm.
That whatever that is has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Like that is directed at me, but it's not mine. And try to like, it's harder to do in practice, but I mean, essentially, if you can get yourself to that point, people can be screaming in your face. You'd be like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you can just, get on with the rest of your day because acknowledging that it's just not yours. And you don't have to take it on. And you don't have to react to it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, great.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, you're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Thanks so much for being here and really engaging with. All right,
Josh has had
Jay.
his hand up forever.
Yeah. Did you want to
He
say
must be
something? Do
tired.
you want to come up on stage? Do you want to share from your seat? What would you like to
I'm
do?
good here.
Okay.
Going back to the entities, and I'm a Matrix fanatic, and y'all say that if you see one, go up and ask what's its purpose, what is it doing here? If it's helpful, then what part? Or if it's not helpful, then just leave. And just like these entities remind me of like a computer program. Do they have to follow? Do they have to follow like the set of lines, or do they have to tell you? I don't know if I'm butchering this question, but it sounds like a program, like a computer program, where the program has to tell you its purpose. And if it's not helpful, delete it or ask for a professional to remove it from you. So
Yeah,
it's like,
you could view it that way.
do they have to answer?
Yes, depending upon what your circumstances are. Like if it's in like a full exorcism and the the pastor or whoever is actually doing the whole thing, then yeah, they do have to answer. It might take a while for them to answer. They might resist answering, but at some point they will. And you don't necessarily have to. Like when I deal with entities, I don't ask questions. Like if I have somebody who's there and like somebody says I have an entity attached to me and I can say, yeah, you do. I just strip the entity off of it and send it to source. I don't have a conversation with it. Like I'm not trying to invite it to tea. I'm just like, get out. That's it.
Well,
Because you don't belong there.
you get the sense that it doesn't belong there and that it's not a good thing, right? So
Well,
you
yeah.
guess that it's a
And
negative thing, and then you just
if somebody says I have something that's messed up, that's not right with me, my energy's messed up or something, can you help me? And I see the entity, and then I usually go, okay, you have an entity attached to you. Do you want me to strip it? And they're like, yeah. And then I take it off and I send it to source. I don't ask it like, what are you doing here? What do you want? What's your objective? I don't do any of that. Although in the course of me removing it, I will often get that information as just as part of the process, but I don't have a conversation with it. And if there's something that's like coming towards me, like if there's something in my house, I don't talk to it. I just get rid of it. But I mean, for some people, like if they're something's coming toward them and they're not sure, like, okay, I see something, I feel something, I sense something, and I want to know is this an entity that's actually coming to help me or with the intention to hurt me? That's when you would ask the question, be like, why are you here? But if you already know that something's not good, then I just get rid of it. Like I don't, like I said, I don't have a conversation with it. I don't care why it's there. I just want it gone. Um, so yes, it does to a certain degree when you ask it, if you're in like an exorcism type situation, then they will answer because you, with your authority, and this is really more Matt's territory than mine, they will answer.
I'll, I often say demons are like little lawyers. So if they, and I'm talking specifically demons. I'm not talking about other kind of beings. When you're trying to get rid of them, raw power will get rid of them. But for the ones that somebody's done a ritual or has a curse on their life or something like that, they're little lawyers. They will look for every loophole to stay and not leave. And they will pretend to be something they're not. Um, like one situation, this lady comes to me. She's like, I have a gray, its name is this, and it talks to me and it does all this stuff. And I'm like, great. I know not all the aliens are demons, but some are. But as I kept working with her, I'm just like thinking like, I'm not seeing it, but I'm like sensing like this is not an alien, but I don't have any proof. And so I start pushing in and I start asking some different questions and realize like, oh, this is a demon pretending to be a gray. And so I did a few things that I know how to do, and then basically was like, I just exposed it. I was like, you're just a stupid demon pretending to be a gray. And she started manifesting. Because usually what will happen is this sounds really strange to someone who's not used to this, but when somebody there's possession, which is really rare, obsession, which is self-explanatory, and then where most people are is influence. So somewhere between influence and obsession is where this person was. The thing just like will actually start attacking the person because the entity or demon is feeling like it's being attacked just from the words. And so that's where it'll start attacking the person. And then it's like it will do everything not to be kicked out. Because think of like a disembodied spirit or a demon or an entity or these, they literally want to host. So they don't want to get kicked out when they've like many of these things have been a part of families for thousands of years. So, you know, that's why they call them a familiar spirit because they're familiar with everyone and know how to influence and kind of fly under the radar. So that's where that's why most people have stuff attached to them that maybe it doesn't really affect them or infect them the way they think. But, you know, to use your matrix like analogy, I would say step into 5D heaven, the spirit realm, whatever you want to call it, because I think that's the clearer place to then go like what is really affecting me
Mhm.
versus like trying to just do it in the 3D kind of realm. Like that's at least that's how I deal with it. But I deal with a lot of people who have they'll say they've been abducted or had alien experiences and most this is always the interesting thing is why does so many people get abducted and think aliens are good? Well, when you're being tortured and all these horrific things are happening to you, how is how are then the aliens on your team and good if all these bad things are happening? Like most things there's good and there's not so good and then there's really diabolical. So anyway, I hope that helps. But to me, demons are like little lawyers. They'll do anything they can, find any loophole. And this is why sometimes I wrote it in the chat. I renounce agreeing with poverty. A lot of times we make agreements with our words or somebody has in our past and it falls on us and we're not even aware of it. And it's so simple to get rid of stuff. Some of the things I do with people are so basic and boring and stuff leaves them from it because they're the one that came into agreement. So I think that's the part of I'm talking kind of more of the heavier stuff versus your house is like an airport. Stuff's flying in and out all the time, whether you can see it or not. And I like I see, but I don't necessarily want to see like Kai.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, any part of your question we haven't addressed?
No, that's basically it. It's just it's interesting that they are forced to command and or we could see or we have command over what we see, what it is. It's like Labyrinth is a great example. They have no power over us, you know, that mentality. So,
Right, that's where she started, and then she realized that that was not the case. And it's the same thing here. Like we are conditioned to believe that we don't have any power over things, and it's not
Mhm.
true.
Correct. We have free will. They do not have free will. If they had free will, they might say, you know, I'm tired of being a demon. I think I want to just like up my game. But they feed off of negative energy. And if they're hanging out with you, they're not inclined to let a meal go. And if you have trauma, that's one way where they can come into your space.
Oh,
Oh, we
looks like
lost Matt
we
temporarily.
lost
Yeah,
Matt.
we'll signal for a moment.
Well, that light finally got to him. He ascended.
I'm sure he's thrilled.
All right, well, we've got another question maybe we could look at briefly, and then I'll text Matt and see what's going on.
Okay, what's our
So this
question?
is an anonymous question. Does becoming attuned to Reiki hold you beholden to that Reiki master's lineage? This is true for any teacher, I think. When you
No,
learn something from a teacher, is there any kind of
No,
no,
beholden, any kind of
you're not
allegiance?
no.
beholden to anyone. It's just that
Correct.
you like become part of that family line energetically training speaking, but I mean I don't consider that like beholden to. I mean, I know is. But I mean, there's so many split off groups at this point. I don't even think that matters. But you're not beholden to anything unless that's what your teacher said, and then that's a different story because that is literally like a predatory type energetic
Yeah.
connection that you want to cut as soon as you can.
Yes. Yeah. The student shall surpass the teacher. That person should be doing everything to make you excel in what you've learned. They're not like holding a club over your head saying, now you owe me because I taught you all this stuff. It's like, no, sorry. You got
Well,
the
there's
wrong
Matt.
person. There he
Yeah,
is. He's back in the peanut gallery.
Oh, he's there. Okay, let's bring him up. I had a teacher that I studied with at one point that, an important teacher for me, but he really did not treat me well. And when I was looking at publishing a book at one point, we said, we'd like to get your blessing on the book and trying to include him and say something great about the experiences with him. He's like, nope, I get the book. I get to change whatever I want. You can't change it back. I mean, it was crazy. I'm like, all right, like
Yeah,
end the relationship.
and that's the thing about, when people talk about like getting teachers and finding mentors and things like that, I was like, you have to check these people out because you cannot assume that because someone is in the metaphysical community or whatever, that they're automatically good.
Yeah, just because someone's gifted
Like,
doesn't mean that they have good intentions.
yeah. And, and it's like, even in the wider community of metaphysics, it's like we have our share of narcissists. We have our share of like super egotistical people. We have our share of arrogance. You know what I mean? Like people are people. And so you have to find the right person that resonates with you, that speaks your language, that makes that like when they speak, you get it. That's what you want. And you want to have a person that you feel like you can trust that will teach you things and never hold you back. Like the minute you like they say something that you feel is holding you back, like you need to say goodbye. I mean, I always tell my students, I'm happy to walk with you as long as you need me to, but at some point we're done
Yeah.
because little bird, you need to get out.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I can't because
And
that's not a relationship that's good for me or them. At
No,
some
there should
point,
be,
you got to
yeah.
go.
Yeah. You got to work yourself out of a job, essentially. You should not keep that person tethered to you at all because that's not serving anything. Give them tools, tell them how to use them, let them go out, have some experience. They come back. Oh, wow, I did this and I did that. Okay, how was that for you?
it ends up being where
But
the
none of
teacher's
it.
becoming an energy vampire of the student if they're just continuing to take from
Yes.
the student. Yeah.
Well, and then when you do that kind of thing, like if you put yourself in that situation, it's like you also set yourself up for being part of a cult,
True.
which you don't want.
Matt, the reason where this question came up is someone asked, does becoming attuned to Reiki hold you beholden to the Reiki master's lineage? This question applies to all teachers. Like in studying with a teacher, does it make you beholden in any way?
Yeah.
So just anything you want to add to that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about Reiki other than I would say you already have I think most people need or want a system to be a part of so that they have credibility. And I would say most people have credibility without that. So I don't know. I would say if somebody wants to do physical or energetic healing, go talk to someone who actually gets results and ask them what they do. And I think you'd be shocked that you don't need at least for me personally, and hundreds of people I've trained don't need a bunch of different things to do stuff. I think it, I don't want to call it a scam. I probably need like a nicer word, but I just think what happens is people just keep making the line farther and farther and farther of like, oh, and now you need to spend the money for this and this and this. And legitimately, like, yeah, there probably should be a financial exchange, but I think, you know, like the kingdoms inside of you, most everybody have everything already inside of them. It's just stepping out and trying to see like how it works for you and kind of going for it. So like, yeah.
Yeah, if
Somebody
you
claiming that, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead,
somebody
Crystal.
that's claiming they've done all this stuff and they're like, here's my piece of paper. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. That's, I've met plenty of people that are professionals, and I'm like, how on earth did you ever graduate? Because you don't know squat dookie about what you're talking about. No, no. So just because they can hang up a shingle, due diligence, do your homework, find out about that person. Before you like start laying out a wad of cash or you get into this whole loop thing like Matt was just talking about, like, okay, so now you've done this, but now you need the next thing, and that's going to be this amount of money, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no.
And
And
someone, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say I could name drop people in the church world who channel demons to heal people,
Mhm.
and I would be labeled very badly for doing that. But I also know people in the metaphysical world who do that as well. So it's really important to get to the root of how are people doing this, because when you go into like the to see the dark side of how all this stuff works, you don't realize there's some just really like not great stuff out there. So most people don't get duped, because they're stupid. It's just like they're curious and they just don't ask enough questions. I and I
Mhm.
I would look at it just like a therapist. If you go to the first therapist and you have a bad experience, well, there's 5 million other therapists you could go visit. You should interview them, you should talk to them, you should like, you know, basically do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Ask for stories, ask for testimonies, don't just go do a ritual because, yeah, because it's the latest craze or whatever.
Yeah, and ask around, like, especially like in a metaphysical community, like everybody knows everybody or knows something about somebody else. So go ask, and figure out like, okay, do they have a good reputation? Like, what do most people think about them? Like, what is their communication style like? All that stuff matters. And then I know we talked earlier about tools and things. Like when I go to fairs, I actually do bring my set of oracle cards and I do read them because I also understand that while I can do lots and lots of things with energy, because I am an energy expert, I consider myself that because I can do lots of stuff. Um, but when someone just wants a question answered, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just lay the cards out in front of them and point at something and go, see this? This means this. What does that mean to you? Like, just give them like a point of logical relevance for them that they can work from. Now, do I need those? No. Like somebody can ask me a question point blank and I can answer point blank. I don't need a card. And that's the difference, I think, between somebody like me and someone who depends on the cards for the answers. Because there's a lot of people who read cards and they're like, oh, I can't read without my cards. I'm like, why? Is your gift broken without them? I don't understand. I'm
Yeah.
just like, if you need a tool, like whether it's cards or a pendulum or whatever, a crystal or something, like, what does that mean? Because to me, like Matt said, everything you have is you already have. So I don't need any tools. If someone needs me to send energy, I can do that immediately. If somebody needs a question answered, I can do that immediately. I don't need a tool.
Mhm.
I mean, tools are nice if you have the time and you have the space and this is part of the exchange kind of stuff. It's all good, but I don't need them. And if you are really serious about your gifts and really understand how they work, you don't need them either.
Correct.
I want to say someone in the chat mentioned that Reiki all comes from one place, so like it shouldn't be connected to a particular teacher or a lineage. And I want to say too about our gifts. So we on this earth plane, people can trademark phrases and names, and they can own the right to use the name in a jurisdiction. That's all there. However, a natural process that comes through you, be it reading or healing or any of those things, those can't be owned by anyone else. So we all have the freedom to practice those things.
Mhm.
Mhm.
There's no law that allows that to be owned. Um,
And a solid practitioner is doing their inside work. They're not doing a spiritual bypass. They're not trying to ignore their emotions. They're not trying to ignore their body. Some people say, like, oh, you have to kill your ego. And it's like, no, you don't. The ego is an important part of our psyche. What you have to do is get clearer and clearer and clearer about who you are and personally have a commitment to show up as the best version of myself as I can in any given situation. That's the kind of people you want to work with. People that have that are ethical, that are doing their work, that don't talk about you after you leave the table, that don't share stuff with, just all of that, all of that.
And
For
part of
what
you
you
is like, we're doing our own work as we're always learning and growing. We're not saying that we're perfect. We know that we're not, and we know that there's more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I say
that's the
there's,
thing. It's like if you run into somebody who says that they know everything, run, don't walk away from those people because they because
they
basically
don't.
what they've done is like they've put like a full stop on their abilities and their in their ability to expand. I'm like, I don't want to work with somebody like that. I want to work with somebody who's open, who's willing, who's like who still has the ability to go, what the heck is that? And go follow it and find out. That's who I want to follow.
Well,
Mhm.
someone asked, like, what's the definition of a demon? And then I know Marcia had another question too. So, what's a demon?
So, dictionary definition, daemon from the Greek, it is a supernatural being, like I almost said entity, but that's not what they call like a demon. Um, like so biblical speaking, they would call it like Christianity, demon. Judaism not doesn't really believe in it too much, but in Kabbalah, that's different. Crystal, I would say, is more of an expert on Kabbalah than probably anybody here, so she could speak to that. Hinduism, they call them jinns, but again, a jinn could be good or bad. They're usually not good. Um, and then if you go before all the religious text, they called them gods or goddesses, and they would create some kind of spell or some kind of incantation to protect themselves from those. Those were written on, I want to say bark, but it wasn't bark. It was like clay tablets, wood. Like they found those things that predate all like religions. So that's, if you want to nerd out, that's kind of where like all that stuff kind of like comes from. So, and
And
then disembodied spirit, some people would argue it's a different thing than an actual demon, but it would fall into the category of a demon. Just like some people believe all aliens are demons. I don't. But some aliens would fall into the category of demons because it's just a demon pretending to be an alien. So that's the part of like shape shifting. Um,
and
yeah,
and someone else is saying lower vibrational being. Yeah, I think that we're all talking about the same thing there.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
technically a lower vibrational being because yeah, like I said earlier, if you raise your vibration high enough, little things that can't stand that will literally fall off of you.
and you said disembodied. One person said disembodied fallen angels. Any comment about that part, having fallen angels on there?
I would say a disembodied spirit is different than like a fallen angel, but like a fallen angel is essentially biblically what people would call a demon, because the Bible says 1/3 of the angels fell and became demons, basically.
Okay, and then also
That's where
some,
that comes. That's where that comes from.
I'm not going to pronounce this right, the Nephilim are mysterious figures.
Nephilim.
Yeah, Nephilim.
Nephilim, okay, yeah. Mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, primarily in Genesis 6, 1 through 4, and described in ancient Jewish literature as a race of giants or fallen ones.
Yeah, basically the daughters of men bred with um the fallen angels, Book of Enoch. There's a whole reason why the Book of Enoch is not considered in the canon of either Christian, Judaism, or Catholic scripture because they don't want you to read it. But yeah, similar to Anunnaki kind of stuff. But all of this stuff, this is the funny thing, aliens, Anunnaki, most of this stuff, you could just go, it's just another religion. Reiki, it's, you know, people don't want to be a part of a religion and then they go do Reiki. They've just joined another religion. They just don't realize it. But shh, don't tell them.
What I was taught, the founding person, the gentleman that started Reiki, he was challenged by his students about, well, if we're teaching Christianity, shouldn't we all be able to lay on hands and heal? And he went and studied and fasted in temple and all that stuff, and he came back being able to do Reiki. Now it's all shot off from there because when I heard that and got first degree Reiki, that was, oh God, back in the early 80s. And even shortly thereafter that, there was all this war between who did you learn your Reiki from? Because that person isn't legit and that person is. And somebody here wrote that Reiki is energy. It doesn't matter who it comes from. And yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, it has to do with like the who was like the actual like inheritor of the title kind of thing, blah blah blah. And so that's why like Reiki split off into so many different things and at this point, and that's why it's like to me it's like it almost doesn't matter with what your lineage is unless it's really important to you, and then that's something else. But to me, I'm like energy is energy. Like if you can tap into it, you can channel it, you can call it whatever you want. Although it has to my understanding, being who I am and what I do, it's like Reiki is it's really good for healing, but it's like the frequency range is like this, where like actual healing can occur in like this. So if you're willing to expand either up or down, like you can hit different types of things and heal different types of things. I mean, Reiki works for a lot of different things. It works for many things, but because it's also like a stable thing where you keep going at it and then it eventually like wears down things so that it hits that point where it can heal in that range, is the way I see it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly good. I mean, I personally use it every day. Like send Reiki to my cat, send Reiki to the cats outside, send Reiki to my neighbor, kind of stuff. But it's not, but it's not the complete picture, energetically speaking, from my perspective.
Just wanted to check in and say we've gone over time. I think Kai, Crystal, and I all planned for that. Matt, are you still doing okay with
Yeah.
time? Okay, great. Marcia had maybe another comment or question, and I actually have a question I feel scared to ask, and I want to ask, and it's just a good time to ask it. So Marcia, did you want to jump in with your thing? Is it still left?
Yeah. I had a question and a comment, and the comment that I had was when we are okay. So a lot of us, when we're connecting and we say spirit, w- we need to be intentional and be specific because there are a lot of spirits out there. Um, I know for me, I usually say the Holy Spirit because I'm being specific. But I noticed that working with a lot of different people that work in different modalities, they'll just be like, oh, I call spirit, da da da. And we're talking about whether it be demons or whatever, they're all in the spirit realm. So you could be calling anything, either a spirit that is out for good or out to be what do they call them? She called them tricksters. One of the ladies that I listen to on YouTube, she calls them trickster spirits because she's uncomfortable with saying demons. So we do have to remember to be intentional and specific. But what I was saying is you guys are really doing a really good thing for the community that is practicing the metaphysical, because I remember when my gifts first really kicked off was when I was about 38, and I was just getting things back to back to back, and it was super frustrating because I'm like, all right, God, you're giving me all this stuff, but what am I supposed to do with it? And it wasn't the things that came straight, but it was the things that I could not, like the dreams that I couldn't interpret, that were really bothering me. And I went to someone that did past life regression. He was a counselor. And then he was giving me his backstory and saying that he was doing counseling for people. And all of a sudden, he would start hearing these voices, and it started to freak him out at first. And then he figured out that it was his guides. But he did the past life regression with me. And then when I was telling him everything that I was seeing, at the end, I was so deflated because he was like, you need to go work on your spiritual life. Now, if I didn't come from a strong spiritual background with my family members all being like this and hearing their stories, I would have thought I was crazy or something. And then I went home the night and I was like, okay, God, help me out here. What was all of this that I was seeing? And that night I had a dream that someone brought me this huge quartz crystal. And when I looked at it, I saw all these little television screens with all these people, which now that like this year, I'm like, hold on. First of all, when I asked what it was, he told me it was a druid stone. So I went and I started looking up the druids, and then I started seeing a lot of metaphysical stuff and also the story about the druids. That's what I was seeing during my past life regression. So that started to make sense to me. And then this year, I was like, hold on, the stone that he gave to me, the crystal, it looked like little Zoom screens now that I'm doing all these circles. So things just kind of started clicking for me. But if I had listened to him, I would have thought I had demons and I was crazy and I needed to go get something done to clear myself, you know? So we really have to be careful who we listen to also.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you actually answered your own question without realizing it. Because when you connect to things, it has to do with intention. So regardless of whatever you call it, it could be the
Mhm.
Holy Spirit, it could just be spirit, it could be source, it could be the universe, it could be God or goddess, it could be the great spaghetti monster, whatever. As long as you have that intention that you will connect to what is highest and best, that's all that's required. It can have any label you want.
A name is limited. When we put a name on something, we've now defined it, and it means it lives in this box. We're going to have lots of different words for God, and a lot of people are in religious recovery and they're not comfortable with the word God. So just to like piggyback on what Kai just said, source, the divine, supreme intelligence, divine mind. I mean, you can lay out a lot of different words to capture that. So we all are starting from a place where like, okay, that we're all starting at this place. We're talking about God, if you will. Um, it's more important about a person can say one thing, but their actions will tell you more. So look behind the curtain, so to speak. Again, verify who this person is that you're opening up to, that you want them to give you some guidance or help you. Just because they can say this or they can say that doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best fit for you.
So I've got something coming up that I'd like guidance from all of you from all of you on. Some people have been coming to the practice circles. We've been doing them now for quite a while. And evidently some people come from religious backgrounds where they're not comfortable with some of the things that we practice. So the idea has come up, could we create a practice circle, and we interfaith spiritual practice circle is the idea of the name for it. And it just experiment with doing it once a month where we say that it's okay to practice these things and it's not okay to practice these things or talk about these things, because we want to have space where the people that are developing in that context feel safe to do that with each other. So I'm exploring doing that. I want to ensure that the people that would come to that new group aren't thinking negative things and bringing any bad energy to all the other things that we're doing. And I also would want to do it in a way where the people that like are coming to all the other things in the practice circles aren't thinking anything negative of the people that are there. Like I want to see how I can create positive space where everyone has the opportunity to open and grow where they are. And I feel like this is risky and I don't know.
Yeah, the first thing that I'm hearing is no, don't
Correct.
separate anything. Like
Mhm.
you have already created a space where people can come in and practice their metaphysical abilities as they are. If some
Mhm.
people are uncomfortable with that, then they can find someplace else to go.
There is no
Because,
other place right now, as part of what I'm hearing. There aren't
Well,
well,
then they
places
can
that's,
for them to
start
practice.
one.
yeah,
They
they
can
can
start
start
one.
one because what's happening is like they want to come in and tell you what you're going to do with your business and your thing. It's like,
Your vision.
no, you already have something that's established and it's already working and it's already helped a lot of people. There's no reason for it to change. If they're uncomfortable, they need to go elsewhere. Or
And
it's either you get in the groove or you get out, is the way I'm hearing it in my head. I mean, you do what you want,
yeah.
but I'm like, it's already working. There's no
And
need
it
to fix it.
and it would be a version of a separate thing, not the thing. So not changing the
Yeah,
thing, but
but
it's using that
but what
model and mhm.
No.
but what you
I don't know
stand
if
on
I'm
and what you
supposed to do it.
say at the beginning of every single thing I hear you say online is this is a safe place for you to come and experience your own personal woo-woo.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
And by excluding certain things, like you've basically said you cannot explore those things while in this thing. And it's like that's not what you were trying to do. Like you wanted to have an expansive thing. So you can, and you don't need another thing on your plate, right?
And this is
So
part of where I think I'm having this struggle too, because I think what I've had trouble wording is that in some ways it does feel like it's out of my integrity. And I want to
Yeah.
support it to happen, but maybe I'm not supposed to be the one to do it, and it's not supposed to be under my brand.
Exactly. And I would say no, it's not. You can just say like, I'm sorry you feel that way, that you feel like you need to do something else, and I recommend that you find a way to make that happen for yourself so that you create the environment yourself that you think you want. But this is the environment that I have. This is what's working, and there's no need to change it. And there's no need for you to adapt that, because what will happen is you'll be like, did you say that? I mean, like, if you facilitate something like that, then you would be the person who would have to police that. Oh no, you said something this, like you said evil that, you said bad that, you said dark that, you said, all this other stuff. Like you'd have to monitor that. It's like, that's not who you are. That's not what you do. So
Not what you want to be.
yeah, I mean, and that's not the whole purpose of what you're trying to do, is to create this inclusive environment where everybody can come in and do whatever they need to do, whatever that happens to look like, as long as it's within the confines of keeping everybody safe. If there are constrictions on what you can say and how you can express yourself, that's not how you usually run things. And
Yeah,
I
and I
would
think I
not,
feel, yeah, and like even for me, like I feel worried of like I have to be too careful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
Yeah.
and somebody wrote occult. The word occult just means hidden. Occult knowledge is hidden knowledge.
Well, and
That's all it means.
I did go through with someone. We worked out a bunch of language and made some language that we feel more okay with. It just still just
Right,
feels challenging to me in some ways. Yeah.
right. So occult has a bad rap, that word. And and especially I want to say, Matt, if this is true, in the Christian church, perhaps the word occult is not a word that's a friendly word necessarily.
It's part of the things
Because
that we were not going to include. Yeah.
yeah. So
I think we took out that word. We may have actually taken out that word though, and it wasn't in the list. Yeah.
yeah, well, see, and I don't really like, my personal thing is I don't really like that, because it's like the minute you exclude something, that means like you've already given it a meaning, and basically shut off exploration of that. And I don't
But
think that's fair,
I
because
guess
I
part of
think that people need to be able to like explore something, and either like, oh, just for their own edification, like, okay, I know what that means now. I don't need to do anything with it, but I know what that means, and I can move on to something else. Because it's like things that you put aside, that you purposely block, are things that are like, I people keep coming back to that, wonder what that is, how does that work, what does that mean, is this that,
well,
they don't know.
right. There's putting energy into that. That's not what that would be about too. But there's a place for having spaces where people have something in common and have something to be a focus and something to be centered around. And I don't know if that fits in here, but I like in other contexts, I think that's helpful. Like
um I appreciate the fact, Lorelai, that you like to give everybody a chance. And in fact, you'll give people lots of chances because you try and be inclusive and you try and create the widest circle possible for whoever can step inside the circle. And that's part of what MeWe is about. This is part of what you wanted to establish, was a community where people could come and be woo. And woo takes on lots of different forms. You got some practitioners that do stuff that I wouldn't touch with a 20-foot pole, but that is what they do. And I'm not going to walk over and say, you shouldn't be here doing that because what you're doing is nasty. That's not my place. It's not my place. And when you start censoring people, especially when they come to a practice circle, I think it's gonna, I just don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like I want that space for people, but yeah, I think maybe the best place for me to land with it is that it's just I'm not the one running it. It's not something that I host. I might be able to
And
help
if they have
in some ways,
yeah,
advise, but not, yeah.
yeah. And if they have a problem with it, then that's on them in a way.
I get that too. I
No
appreciate
one's
people and their
forcing
desire
them to attend.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. I just, yeah, I definitely, inclusivity is so important to me, and it's a place where there's a group of people that I have it set up in a way where they don't feel included. And
Yeah.
so I hear
Yeah,
that,
I
and
mean,
I want to find some way to meet that.
and the fact is, like, there's some places that you just don't fit, and that just means that you need to find where you do fit.
It's totally, there's some places where I don't fit at all. We've got lots of comments in the chat. I want to go look at the comments in the chat, and I know also Em wanted to say something, I think, about this, and I gotta go see if there's some things in the comments for me to respond to. Em, did you want to come on and say something? Do you want to come up on stage, or do you want to just say something from your chair? Or do you not want to say something now? Do you know who I'm talking about? I'm going to ask you to unmute. Did you want to say something? Do you want to come up here?
Sure. No, I mean I'll just talk. With that first letter thing, it goes right over my head without a name. I get lost on who you were talking
Okay,
about.
yeah, sure.
No, I mean, I agree with everything that was said. I'm not quite sure of the environment you were trying to create, and I think anybody that comes into the space with judgment doesn't belong in the space in general. But there's an offshoot that I find interesting, and I don't know if you could incorporate this in whether your own interests or something in the future. And we've discussed tonight, we touched on some things. Quick story. So I was at one of the metaphysical fairs in the local area, and I saw this guy, a new guy, and it was everything's a lesson, as we learn when we get into this world, everything's a lesson that we get presented with. And his banner or whatever, where he was presenting who and what he did, was very, very religious appearing. And I went, I could just, I feel like, but there was a part of me that's like, you're going to go talk to this guy. You're going to go talk to him. And so I listened to that, and I went and talked to him, and we're good friends now. Sweetest thing ever. And it was interesting what he was saying, and I'm not going to get it right exactly, but he considers himself, religious or maybe in the Christian field, but he's very woo-woo and very talented. And, he feels, but he was making points of like, if you call yourself a prophet, you're okay. But if you call yourself a psychic, you're not, and they're kind of the same thing. So what touched on what you're kind of thinking about doing and what everybody else was saying and what we talked about this evening was I find it interesting about the commonalities of the words, and I wonder if it would interest you to kind of, for even if just your self-research, to, what it's called in this religion or this lifestyle or this, and if you want to talk with somebody or somebody has a moment, you can say, well, this is the same as this is the same as this is the same as this, and because I find relations like that interesting. There's so much overlap. There's so much overlap in all the religions. There's so much overlap in terminology. So if anything, you can use it as a one-off lesson with some of these people to say, you're judging because we're not using the same term, and words are very limiting, and words, are respective to what you've learned and stuff. So that's all, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I know, Matt, you've been quiet. I'm sure you've got stuff to say here, and seems like it's the time.
I mean, I don't even know where to start. I would say if I understood the question, anybody coming from a Christian background, Protestant or Catholic, if they're coming into an environment like this, they're coming with most likely, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And then there's bad, and then there's you're channeling demons. So the fact that someone is open enough to come to an environment like that, I would say you could still have the container that you already have, and they don't need to do the things that they consider occult or bad or whatever reference they're using. Because here's the thing is like, if you're going to go to like a metaphysical experience or whatever from any background, you're most likely no matter what, good, bad, middle. And if you want to do this kind of work, as a practitioner, you're going to have to learn to deal with darkness or the supposed bad things that exist
Yeah.
in these realms. So if they can't be in the environment in the first place, maybe they should stick to like whatever they were doing before. So
It could be that I'm running the same event and I could add something else in my opening of, and it's kind of implicit, but maybe I need to make it explicit. If there's anything you don't want to participate in partnering with, receiving, etc., any kind of healing or different types of readings or anything, let us know. And because I mark people that are only there to receive compared to the people that are there to practice. And some people come in and they just like, I just don't want any energy healing work today. So people already do that to some extent. I just don't have it explicit in the beginning.
Yeah, you
yeah,
just don't want to start a separatist movement of where people start lumping themselves together because of where they're from, because it'll just create a big schism in your community.
Yeah, and what we were saying, we said we imagine that participants will primarily come from, and this is just the draft language that we were working on, monotheistic, Abrahamic, Judeo-Christian, Catholic, Islamic, Sufi, Buddhist, and traditional interfaith communities. So we're
There's
trying to
so
find
many
ways that all those
religions.
people could. It was just
Zoroaster, Hindu,
but
you know,
the collection of people that aren't wanting to be involved in practicing a set of things. Yeah. Yes, I think maybe it's not mine to do and it's mine to consult, and maybe there's a way that I can be more inclusive in what I do now. And it still allows me space to be me, and I don't have to put any extra effort into thinking too
Yeah,
much about stuff.
I wouldn't.
what
I'd be like,
I wouldn't
this
either.
is yeah, this is the way it is. If you don't like it, there's a door. I just
Yeah,
don't.
the community, the whole community is not going to bend to you, one individual. So sorry, so sad. No, you come
I would
here, that's your choice.
I would put it to you like this is you if you feel led to do it, then do it. But if you're at all hesitant, Lorelai, I would say you'll bring in unnecessary spiritual
Yeah, that's what I was worried
energy,
about. Yeah.
conflict, combat that even from
Chaos.
really nice people that,
Good
you
intentions,
know,
but yeah, something
yeah,
happens. Yeah.
that it will cause, yeah,
Yeah, well, and they
Yeah.
said the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you just need to do whatever you want to do, whatever you feel led to do, whatever's most comfortable for you. And if people don't like it, there's a door. They don't have to be there.
And
They can
Matt,
start their own community.
right. Well, and Matt, given your history, is there anything you want to share about parallels of like it's called this here and we call it this here, and because people are asking, are
well,
using the same thing?
I mean, it's nothing pretty. So basically, from biblically speaking, that like most of the stuff they would call divination or occult, they would just label as bad. So this is where they're almost trying to create their own new religion because if you're really a Christian, a biblically based Protestant or Catholic, right? Then you wouldn't be doing these things because the Bible tells you not to do them. Like that's the point blank.
Right. And then what are the things that those religions say you can do, and what do they call it, and what do we call it in metaphysical community? Can you like bring in the parallels?
Yeah, so biblically speaking, you could be born a prophet, so intuitive, speaking future, current, seeing past stuff. Then there's what's called the gift of prophecy, where you're intuitive, you're able to, it's like you could predict the future, but most likely it's more of what they would call the middle ground. And then in in the New Testament, there's a guy named Paul who wrote a lot of the New Testament who says like all can prophesy. In other words, everybody has intuition, everybody has the ability to do this. So they put it in like three categories. And then there was like the last category they called like the office of a prophet, where those people are the ones teaching and training other prophets. And, you know, in the woo-woo community, we would call them a psychic. But in the Christian community, they would say psychics are using familiar spirits, demons, to get their information. And so any Christian coming to a psychic and they would be worried that they were going to be influenced by a demon by even going to it. So there's all this like it's like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Does this person have a demon that's gonna leap on me? So there's a lot of that stuff that um that kind of goes on. And I could tell you, like, I was on staff of a church and I'm standing next to one of our associate pastors and he has a demon and he can't stop coughing every time I'm standing next to him because people have issues, right? And that guy was not very prophetic, not very intuitive, but he was a really nice guy. He really loved people. But I'm no joke, he would manifest a demon to the point where he would start coughing when I would stand next to him. So there is nuance, but there's no flexibility. You know, a church would never say, "Oh, we're gonna have Crystal Novak, the psychic, come prophesy over people." Like they just wouldn't do that because they would label her as bad.
Like, can you
Because
like
that's
I'm just trying to think about the parallels. Light language, and then there's something else in the religious community, and like
speaking in
healing and
tongues, light language. And then, but then even in that, there's a lot of people that like would say, no, they're not the same thing. So
we're making parallels. This is our story, my story at the moment. But what the healing, like hands-on healing, but what is it called in different, what are
yeah,
different
it's
types of
just
healing?
healing. They called it in the Bible, they called it the gift of healing.
And so we just do different kinds of energy healing.
Yeah.
There's a
And then
whole
in
range of
what's
things.
fun in the Old Testament, they tell a guy to go dip in the river 3 times or 7 times, and he dips in 7 times and he's healed of leprosy. So I mean, that's more woo-woo mystical. Or a guy throws a stick into a river and it pulls up an axe head. Like that sounds like a witch or a warlock, right? Or a shaman or some.
Well, it all depends on who's backing your play
Yeah.
about how it's going to be looked at. And the thing I like about what you present, Lorelei, is the lack of fear. You are encouraging people to come and experience themselves and their abilities. And that's what a practice circle is for, is so you can practice. And people can say, I'm not here for healing today. I don't want that. I want to work. I want to read cards or whatever. But in particular, women and people of color have been vilified by the church for centuries. And I wouldn't be super keen if I was a new budding practitioner of landing in a practice circle and having somebody judge me because I'm doing something that they think is evil and needs to be gotten rid of.
Yeah, and I
Then,
definitely distinguish between like the activity that someone would practice versus who the person is, and what's okay and what's not okay. It's more okay in my community to say that you don't want to experience a practice, but not wanting to experience someone because a category of who a person is not okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not your responsibility to cater to every single person that shows up at MeWe. There's people that in the past you've gotten rid of because they were not legit. They were they're not
Manipulative
something.
and negative intentions. Yeah. They're
Yeah,
not
and
allowed.
not some were vendors, some were practitioners. But this just really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah,
I know.
so I
Because
I'm
want to
just,
get
you'll
your
I,
get
feedback. So I'm kind of leaning into the edge. Like we made this to be the private conversation out in public. So I'm like, I'm having the private conversation out in public. So yeah.
yeah,
okay. Well,
it
now
just
it's
feels
going on
like,
YouTube.
it's like, I know there's a part of me that feels like, how dare you?
Me? What, ask here?
No,
What do
like
you mean?
them, like to
Well,
like say
well,
this to you. I'm being, how dare
their
you?
intent, I know their intentions are good. I so know that their intentions are good, right? Their experience. So it's someone that's had probably this conflict themselves and they feel okay with what's happening. And they're hearing from more and more people that want access to this and don't feel comfortable. And so it's like a genuine request. So I think there is a need in the community. I know Matt, you used to work with people inside the church all the time. There's a need in the community to enable people to practice and to grow their gifts. And it just maybe it's not my journey to be the one that provides it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if they're telling you what language you can and cannot use. No, sorry, no, no, there's the door.
It just it's
Yeah.
it's too hard for me and it's just too hard for everyone that shows up. And I want it to be the space that's open and easy and
Yeah, it's like,
inclusive.
and
So I think
it
you
just
gave
doesn't align with who you are. So yeah,
yeah.
I wouldn't,
Yeah.
I mean, because people ask me all, it's like, well, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? I'm just like, well, I could, but I don't
But
really want to,
yeah,
so I'm not gonna.
the part that's aligned is I hear the need and I feel a genuine desire to help. So I need to find a way to help that fits better
Good.
with me in the way I practice. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Well, and
Sometimes,
the other thing is when you when you feel the need to help someone, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Right.
compulsion to
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I wish I could help you, but you
Yep.
know, and go on your merry way, because it's not your job to fix everything.
Yeah, just
No.
because I can, right, doesn't mean I need to. Someone wants to
Yeah.
make a comment without naming names. That's totally fine. You can do that in chat. You can do that with your voice. It's however you want to do that.
Hey, Lorelai, it's me, Marcia.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about because the person mentioned it to me and asked me for some feedback on it. And I understand where they're coming from because they think what you have going is a really good thing. There are a lot of people who are coming into their gifts, and the church does not facilitate the teaching. They're not providing the teaching that the circle offers. So I think their heart is leaning towards the fact that they want to invite people,
Yeah.
but because there are certain things that fall under the label of occult practices, they're like, I really want to invite these people, but I can't because there's certain things, as far as what I heard them say, is that certain people cannot be associated with certain things. So that's why they were looking to maybe start a separate group from this one or something that would aid those people without there being that exclusion. Now, I've practiced in a lot of different groups all around the world, and the unity churches would probably, and I mentioned that to them, the unity churches, they do accept everyone the way that you do, but
Mm-hmm.
their teachings are more Bible based. So I'm thinking that there's certain things that they would avoid, but at the same time, I've been in other metaphysical groups and they keep everything high vibrational. And their practitioners, they keep everything, I guess you could say, of the light or doing higher vibrational work. So I've heard them say that if they had anyone come in that had like malicious intent or anything like that, they kind of weeded themselves out.
My
So
cons
that's one thing.
my
That's
concern
what
is that
happens.
people place the tier in different like so I have a line that's not okay, but I
Okay.
worry that people talk about things being a high vibration and they mean to exclude things like tarot cards and common tools that we use that are not, to me, not evil and not meant for bad things. Everyone can misuse all kinds of tools. But so
Mhm.
when is high vibration meaning you have to fit in with our way of doing things, and when is it not negative? And what people have different meanings, and so I don't know the different
Yeah.
groups. And yeah.
And I told her, I was like, you can't exclude people. You can't start listing things because that's going to cause issues for Lorelai, because that's when people are going to start talking about discrimination and other things like that. But what she was basically talking about, or the person when they spoke to me, is that like dark practices, things like
Oh,
that.
and
That's what they
I try to not use, I'm just going to say here, I'm
yeah,
spacious, right, is what other people say, but I
yeah,
don't use the words light and dark because of the association of dark and negative and in terms of
yeah.
anti-racism. So I aim to not use
Mm-hmm.
those words. But
Yeah. But that's where she was coming from.
yeah, and
But
Yeah.
see, but that's another thing, because it's like, what qualifies as dark? Because
what
I can promise you that what I consider dark is completely different from what most people consider dark. It's like a tarot card, that's nothing. In my
No,
world,
it's
like,
nothing.
that means nothing.
I don't even know if the
Yeah.
conversation that we had tonight is okay in that
Yeah.
community because of all the things that we're talking about and exploring and wanting to understand. And I'm ignorant. I've totally not been in those communities. So I think, yeah, I think the answer is that I can choose to provide some support to it happening and not get my energy mixed up in it in the way that I was
Yeah.
exploring.
Because it's like, they're basically, it's that thing about like you dipping your toe in the water kind of thing, right? It's just like, you're now in a new pool. Are you getting in or not? You're like, you don't get to decide what the water is like. This is what the water is. Either you get in or you don't. That's kind of what's happening here. I mean, like, you can
And
go in slowly if you want to, but it's like you can't make a condition for this. I mean, like, you get in the water, and if you like it, great. If you don't like it, get out. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like people want this, like, well, I want it the way I want it. Well, the world is not, you are not the center of the universe. I'm so sorry to inform you of that.
I just say
This is
that,
how it
and
works.
I want to be really clear. The person that's had this request is not doing it from any negative intention at all that I
No,
feel.
right. And it's not negative. It's just the fact that they're wanting a level of control that is not theirs.
Well,
I think they
let
want to
me
offer something to people that they want.
let me say
But
it like
this
this.
person feels they need, yeah.
There is a huge need in the Protestant and Catholic community for people to have an opportunity to practice intuition, whether you want to call it the prophetic or
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Yeah.
because there, if you look at the 3,000 different denominations and then throw in Catholicism, it's like probably 1 to 3% are actually practicing these things publicly. And so, I mean, and this is what I did, School of the Prophets, teaching people how to do all this stuff, right? That's what we called it. So, yes, there's a big need for this, but that's where you go like, it's not your job to fill this need. If somebody
Mhm.
wants to create the group, they could literally call their group the prophetic practice because then people go, oh, this is more of a, Christian religious connotation of how this thing works. Like it's pretty simple versus yeah. And
And
if I as a pastor in the past came to a group like this, I would have been I would have gotten a warning. But if I wasn't going to convert people to Christianity, if I wasn't like a secret agent, then you'd be done because you cannot as a pastor you cannot be associated in these kind of groups, and hence why I got kicked out of doing large venue meetings in the Catholic Church because they didn't like I was doing fairs and doing stuff. So
But now you belong
understandable.
to us.
So yeah.
they can start their own group. And that
No,
whole
it's
thing
great.
the whole thing that Matt just said about if you're a Christian, then part of your job is to convert other people to Christianity, to bring them into the fold so that they will be saved.
Yeah, it's all. I just read an article on HuffPost this morning. It's not an article so much as it's a personal story, and the person got kicked out of. They lost their job because they refused to allow the community to spank their child, and it's because of the whole religious process of hierarchy and all that. They had to give permission for people to spank their kid, and they had to be proselytizing everywhere they went and be boldly following the rules of the church. They couldn't have their baby in a sling, like all these different things. And
Yep.
in that case, so it's that group. So yeah. Oh goodness. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for letting me learn in public. Thanks for letting me get advice in public. I just figure we're asking everybody to do this, so I'm going to lean into this edge too. So demonstrate by right, to demonstrate the capacity and by sharing it myself. Well, it's been a big night talking about all kinds of stuff. Is there
Yeah.
anything anyone else wants to talk about or ask about or share before we finish up tonight?
No, that
I
was a
need to
good one.
finish it. Yeah. That was a good one. And you guys, it's going to be on YouTube. It'll get posted up on YouTube on the MeWe YouTube channel.
Oh, and someone mentioned like thinking about light or high can be coming from the heart. Yeah, I agree. Coming from the heart or a good intention or yeah, for the highest good. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I appreciate having that here at the end too. All right, yeah, anything else? I know we're gonna all close out and we'll say a bit of who we are again and how people can get in touch with us. Anything else you want to say about any of these topics? And I wrote prophetic practice circle in the notes, Matt. Thank you. All right, I'm going to put our information in the chat again. We appreciate you all being here. The only way we can have a discussion is if you're all here to have the discussion and for us to all
Yeah.
learn from all the things that we share and ask about. All
Yeah,
right,
thanks
well,
everybody for jumping in and, saying what you think and putting stuff in the chat, and all of that
Yeah.
contributed to how great this session actually was. If you guys want to come back next month, we're doing it again. I'm not sure exactly of the date,
oh, and
but
it's the beginning of August. I think it's like August 2. So on August 2, only a few weeks away, we are going to be doing this again.
yeah.
Well, so what order? Matt, do you want to say who you are and what you do and how people can get in touch with you first?
Sure, and I'll do a little commercial.
Yeah.
Check out a retreat in June. You can find me at I always forget mysticmattyoung.com. I've got an event in Florida in August, in Tampa, an event in Chicago in October, and I have a week-long retreat in Costa Rica. If you want to check out all those kind of things. But yeah, easiest way to find me, mysticmattyoung.com.
And what can people come to you for? Say again.
I do I do everything. I'll sweep your room. No, I do. I do healing, more so physical, energetic, do deliverance to exorcism, clearings, renunciations, all that kind of stuff, and then do readings. And what's really funny is most people don't even realize they're getting a reading when I'm doing a session with them because I'm just having like a conversation just like this. And then I have to tell them, oh, by the way, I just said this, this, and this because it doesn't always click. Unless they just sign it for just a reading, then they get it. But yeah. Those are the three things I do.
That's great. Thank you. And we don't have a guest scheduled for next month too. So we're still figuring out who our guest is, if we're having a guest. Crystal or Kai, who wants to share?
Hello. Hi, I'm Crystal Novak. Psychic, intuitive reader, energy worker, conscious channel. Been doing this level of work for 45 years. Wrote a book about it. I have a weekly Zoom class that meets once a week. It's a meditative study group. And basically, my handle is I Know Stuff. So my website is iknowstuff.me. And feel free to jump on that and check that out if you feel like you're called. You can also check out my book on Amazon, and there's the sample part, so you can actually read, I think it's the first 5 chapters, and see if that calls to you or not. And thank you again for being here tonight and participating and adding your energy and your ideas and thoughts into this whole conversation. That's what we want. That's what we do this for. So thank you for participating, and hope we see you on the next one. Thank you.
And if people are watching this recording, they can find your book on Amazon by
Yes.
Remembering Who You Are and Crystal Novak.
Yeah, and it's either paperback or Kindle.
Great. And Kai.
And hi, everybody. I'm Kai. I'm a Hawaiian Kahuna, which is the Hawaiian version of a shaman, author, mentor, speaker. You can find some of my books on Amazon as well. And like we said, I'm working on our retreat for next year for June 2027. That's going to be happening here in the Pacific Northwest. So if you'd like to be with us, the link is somewhere in the long chat that we've got here. That you can go ahead and click on and, put your email address in, and when registration goes live, you can sign up for it or at least get some more information on it. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Both, like all three of us, Matt, Crystal, and I are going to be there with our other partner, Mo, and we are really going to change a lot of different things in terms of perception and how we view things, and just do our best to create an experience that is a once in a lifetime experience. So if that's something that you think you might be interested in, we'd love to have you because we've got limited space.
And it's
We
not
want to
right in
take
the.
it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry, Laura. It's like it's not going to be a big thing. We're limiting the number of people there so that we can have like this really intimate group that can work through a lot of different things that we're looking at. So I'm so looking forward to it. I can't even wait. I feel like I've already been there. It's I've been working on it so much, and I think everybody that shows up for it is just going to adore it. So
And if there isn't a clear way they can find it right on your website, the link to the retreat information is handsonfire.buzz, BUZZ/the-alchemy-of-becoming-retreat.
yep, all the information is there. And then, yeah, just plug in your email address, and as soon as everything goes live, we will let you know.
Great. And go ahead.
Oh, you know what we forgot to talk about, you guys?
Hmm.
Is the healing event we're going to do on October
October,
3rd
right?
in Auburn down at
Emerald Downs.
Emerald Downs. Yeah, we're going to do a healing night. And some of you have participated before or heard about it before. So that's what's happening on October 3rd. There's a MeWe Fair Saturday, Sunday at Emerald Downs down by
Yeah,
Auburn.
so it's Saturday night. The three of us are going to do hands-on healing on one person at a time.
Mhm.
So
And
we've
there's an
done it a
option
couple
of
times before, and yeah, everybody's just like, we love it. When are you going to do it again? So we're going to do it again.
there's an option of getting healing, there's an option of watching, and after watching, if you want healing, there's an option for that too.
Yeah.
Great. And after I share what I do, there's another question in the chat that I wanted to just speak to briefly because it's a perfect fit right here. I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. You can find out more about me at intuitiveeyereading.com. You can find out more about the archetypes that I use for reading in people's eyes is thrivetypes.com. And I run all the MeWe fairs, MEWEFAIRS.com, MeWeFairs.com. We have in-person events in Washington, Oregon, and we have lots of online events. We have Cosmic Conversations currently once a month. We have practice circles 7 or more times a month. I have drop-in events where you can come to me for whatever it is that I offer 7 or more times a month. And all this is currently on the MeWe Fairs website. We also have panels. We're getting ready to have Lionsgate panel in the beginning of August. It's going to be on August 6th, on the Thursday before the Lionsgate on the 8th. On the 8th, we're going to be up in Bellingham, Ferndale, Washington, having a fair, and we're going to have some special Lionsgate events on that Saturday on the 8th. That's available online as well as in person. And then, yeah, lots going on. I'm just excited to do all the stuff. We have online fairs. We just had an online fair last weekend. So lots of ways that you can participate and engage the community. And the really fun question in the chat was, how do you differentiate mental health situations from entities? And Kai responded and said, for me, it feels like a chemical imbalance in the brain. And so, yeah, so this is a great question. When is it a psychic spiritual opening that's going too fast? When is it entities? And when is it mental health stuff? I really feel like these are 3 different things that it can be that shows up in people. So if we could take a moment just to answer one more question.
I don't know. For me, it's like it literally feels like a different type of energy. So if somebody has a mental illness, like it literally feels like a chemical imbalance in the brain. Um,
It
and
feels
it
centered.
feels
Does it feel centered here more in them? Like, can you say anything about what feels different or any qualities for that feeling?
well, it just feels it if so. I kind of look at it like if it's a like if you're looking like an EKG or something, right? Like most people, like it goes, just like that, right? Just straight. But if someone has a chemical imbalance, it's kind of like this, like it's all like all over the place. It's like that's the energy that's coming off of it. It's more frenetic versus like, and because I can see, like if someone actually has an entity, then I can actually see the entity. But if it's a mental illness, like if there's no entities in it and they're still kind of exhibiting the same types of symptoms, and then what I'll do is I'll look at the chemical composition, like the energy of their chemical composition, and I'm like, yeah, I was like, you probably need to go see somebody.
Yeah, so you can see the entities, which makes it so different for you. But for people that can't see the entities, that's trickier for us. And I guess maybe would you say mental health and like psychic opening that's happening too fast? So I think of like psychotic, psychic, and to me is the continuum of all this and where people can be on here. Anything you can say about
I
distinguishing that?
uh, I don't know. I think, I mean, it's a range too, because I mean, like you can tell, like, cause like with if somebody has mental illness, sometimes it's really, really obvious, and other times it's really kind of subtle. But again, it's all related to the energy. So somebody who can feel energy might be like, okay, like there's something that's not congruent here. I don't want to say it's wrong or it's broken or anything, like something that just doesn't seem to resonate well. And then at that point, it's like, okay, so then it's like, what is that? Is that because there's something else that's attached to it? Or is it just like an incongruence within the physical body? Or is it incongruence with the spiritual aspects of them? I mean, like, if people can feel the different levels of energy, then they can tell. And other people, they just know, right? They're just like, you could just look at somebody and be like, yeah, no.
Yes, and
So
like
it just,
my mom's an example of someone that had mental health stuff, and I'm sure she had negative entity stuff going on. So like, there's the people can have a blend of all these things.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, once you have like some sort of mental instability that's not controlled in some way, then that your energy is literally frenetic, and that's the kind of thing that can actually draw entities to you. So it's like,
Hmm.
it's not necessarily that entities come to you. You know what I mean? It's like chicken and egg thing. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's how it works for me.
maybe that's a whole question. Like, or I should say, Kai, if you wanted to provide some other teaching material, that might be an interesting place to go about all this stuff for people and sorting some of this out and what to do about it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a 30-minute answer to the question. The simple thing is my bias is I'd say over 50% of people with mental health situations have an attachment. I would put a higher number, but I don't want to offend anybody. But I would say like the joke I would say is like use the demon detector, put it on the person's head, see what manifests, and you can find out pretty quickly that way. But yeah, it's a lot of people have attachments as it is. So it's not a big jump to say somebody with mental health situations has entities.
Yeah, because I mean, someone who has entities doesn't necessarily have mental illness, but people who have mental illness are likely to actually have something attached to them.
I now have the little kid question, which is going to make you crazy, which we can only do so much of because I know we're even an hour over now.
Right.
Why? Why are there these negative entities? Why?
Because they just are. I mean, there are
It's
lots of things that kind of share our dimension with us. I mean, entities are like demons, and what we consider demons are not the only thing. There's lots of things. There's like fairies and angels and things that we don't even have names for. They're everywhere. We just don't see them. We don't notice them. They still function with us in our world, in our dimension. That that that's just our. They just are there. Just like like why are there lions? Because there are lions. It's like
We could go into why is the government created technology that manifests that looks like alien demon stuff that tortures and does all kinds of horrific things to people that people think is an entity when it's really a government technology. That's a 3 hour conversation right there. Um,
Oh goodness.
and
All right. So yeah, we've
I
we've had a
think
good conversation because all we've done is open up more conversations. Sorry, Crystal, what?
to me, this plane got corrupted a long time ago, and that opened the door to things that shouldn't be here. And I think part of our spiritual evolution is everybody's talking about the 5D. Part of our spiritual evolution is to anchor in higher vibrational energy to this plane, and they don't like that. We're taking their food away from them. So that's where I think we're seeing this really big polarity on the planet about those who don't want to get on board and do the healing stuff and make this a better place to live. They want to kick down and keep things the way that they are, that they
well,
want them
and
to be.
and cause as much damage as they can while they're doing it.
Yep. Yep. So, anyways, y'all, I gotta
All
bail.
right. Well,
It's
thank you so much. Yeah, we've gone way late. Thank you everyone for
gotta
being
eat
here.
dinner.
And we look forward to seeing you again on August 2.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks,
everyone
everyone.
so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. This was fabulous.
Thank you.